Today I wanted to talk about a couple of topics extremely important that are big, I guess you call sparking the fire, so to speak, which were done to my life in early childhood. And one of them I mentioned in my previous discussions or segments, which was the Sunny Skies Day Camp and the black girl, me kissing the black girl around 8 years old, or wherever this was, between 1st and 2nd grade or whatever. You do the math on the age. I led into some of the incidences briefly. I can't exactly remember how much detail I went into, but I don't think I went to the specifics and the progression throughout my entire life of the ramifications of Kevin Perlman kissing a black girl, which normally, if it was any other person on the planet, nobody could care less in this day and age, showing something beyond any level of strange going on, especially the fact that the black community still has a problem with me over something nobody could care less about. The other one has to do with a steak knife incident with my brother, my bullying, thugging brother, who kept terrorizing me to death. And I'm not going to say this is totally out of the scope of what older brothers do, but what I am going to say is that me scaring him off me with a steak knife by dropping it to the ground and doing a fake throw leads to him investing his entire life to cover up operations to try to lock me away in jail cells and mental institutions, with the rest of my family saying I'm a violent, dangerous, paranoid schizophrenic, showing that he has something to hide with my family and something to cover up. So I guess I'll, for now, start with the black girl incident, because the black girl incident is it's a lead up to the Kevin kissed a black girl, and so for some strange reason after that point, which must have been from 8 to 10 years old, and you've heard that this, from me talking, that this actually starts before that, so you can derive that something freaky is going on to begin with, to smear my name, disseminate information to use against me. So when I was I don't know, I mean, I'm gonna say 1st grade. I was in the same class, grade as Tom Farley, which I met at an extremely young age in Hidden Hills, which he was contacted at an extremely young age and told to do whatever it takes to remove me from society. And so, well, I think I knew Tom Farley for 30 years, and that entire time he was working on me with my family, the police, and government, trying to frame me, set me up, destroy my name, following me on the internet to colleges, when the internet came to be, like University of Colorado and on IRC, and working with these mass groups behind my back to remove me from society. Now, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I spoke about Brian Longbotham, who was originally my visual effects supervisor, which invested 15 years doing the same thing from the age, something like the early to mid 20s to 30s. You get the idea. You got Tom Farley, you got Brian Weaver, with all the car setup attempts and frame jobs and things like that, trying to make me look like I'm out of control, road rage, lying, criminal monster. You got Tom Farley for 30 years. You got Mike Huntley for 25 years, from the age something like 14 to 29. So you can see this this level of people being contacted to do these freaky, shady things, like try to collect things to use against me to give to the world, or just make up blatant lies to turn mass groups against me worldwide. But so now I started off in, I guess it's elementary school, around the time I talked about the biting the person on the hand, which wasn't like a horrible, I ripped someone's fingers off and there's blood gushing and this and that. It was like a super soft gumming bite with absolutely zero damage whatsoever. And while that is a little weird and a little Kevin at a young age showing some fear, it's not the end-all be-all thing that someone would be hunted down with billions of government dollars for. With every company, business, large-scale business like Coffee Bean, Starbucks, eBay, Grubhub, you name it, these large corporations stalking one guy, investing insane amounts of money with the government to rid someone of the world, saying this guy's a danger to himself or others, and a violent paranoid schizo. So around this time, my family moves me back from the same grade as Tom Farley to a grade before and they called it T1. Now I can't tell you if there's something to that or not, especially the things like the Terminator movie and Kelly Hatch using the Terminator movie with little cryptic references and industrial light magic and this and that. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you they called it T1. I mean, who knows? For all I know, it means transitional one or something. Who knows? But they moved me back, and this T1 class was at Sunny Skies Day Camp off Triumpho Canyon, off of Canaan Road. Now, if anyone in this worldwide conspiracy and terror operation knows that I have like 100,000 people a day to 1 million people a day all over the world, whether they walk by me going yes, 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 or hi, 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 or hey, 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 or doing things in threes over and over as well, parking cars backwards in threes, honking their alarms in twos and threes. I got, on the internet part, I got every social network, every blog, every business site has like explanation points in threes or question marks in threes, which now there a lot of times there's a space in between the threes, and all these cryptic messages are directed at me, Kevin Perlman, to try to collapse my brain. Just basically like create a concussion or seizures or stop my brain from working and kill me based on psychological warfare tactics, right? And so you get the idea with the tactics, and these tactics are literally in the thousands, not just threes, twos and threes or threes, but I can't tell you what their issue is with threes, but I can tell you, oddly enough, that this T1 class, where I'm being accused of all these things that don't exist like everything else, was on Triumpho Road off Canaan Road, where Sunny Skies Day Camp was. And so what happened, according to my mother, it's a little, some of the things are a little fuzzy, which is normal being that young, was, according to my mother, I went to Sunny Skies Day Camp there, and then after that, I went to, they took me out of T1 class, put me a grade behind Tom Farley, which I couldn't care less about, never even thought of until I started getting arrested with weird police questions from Sean Dinsey, digging for information about if I'd ever been moved back a grade, which are strange questions in 2017 or 2013 with their arrests to try to silence me, asking me questions about classes in first grade. How would these people have that information? Well, I can explain all that because my father is working with the police to try to figure out how to set me up or frame me to remove me from society, and then turn it around and, using his psychology degree, attack my credibility and mental state to make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo who's obsessed with things from my past and can't move on. And so he's just doing whatever he can with his psychology degree. And my mother and my brother, they all have psychology degrees, with the entire psychology community, police, government, NSA, FBI, to get what they want with their the ends justifies the means types of mentality. We're going to kill this person or rid him of the world because we think he's a danger to society for doing absolutely nothing wrong, but because we don't trust him, the ends justifies the means, so we're going to rid him of the world anyways, right? Kind of like NSA data mining. The end justifies the means. Now nobody's safe because look at my life. Because what? The ends justifies the means in terrorism. Therefore, we can hunt down, kill, violate constitutional rights with Patriot Act or FISA or you name it. Because what? The ends justifies the means because someone with power has a paranoia issue, right? I'm gonna pause this for a second while I run in and get some coffee because I need coffee. It's morning, and that's like fuel for me. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my fuel. I'm kind of like, you know, airplanes need to fly and they can't fly without their fuel, and that's what caffeine is to me. So, anyways, I stopped off at Starbucks, and it doesn't matter which coffee shop I stop off, but Starbucks is especially investing huge amounts of money to have me killed for the information I know and what they're involved in, with endless death threats with people, especially people from the black community working with the Starbucks Corporation to blackmail me or give me death threats. Some of these incidences involve black people hitting me in the face. Other incidences involve me calling Starbucks corporate to tell them what's going on at their locations. Met with black people showing me up at the Encino Starbucks and following me to movie theaters, threatening me. Of course, these threats are always indirect and done in such ways as they're trying to threaten me about something that they accuse me of, instead of directly like death threats. Like, if you ever go to a Starbucks, we'll kill you. It's never said like that. It's always hinted that I committed some crime, and if I don't stop, I'll be killed. Trying to make it look like I've done something wrong while threatening my life, if that makes sense. Because if they directly state it, you know what's going on and what it's about, and you can tell someone, even though in my life it wouldn't matter who you tell because everyone seems to be working against me. But you get the idea. And going to Starbucks in this couple of minutes, I was in there for 10 minutes. I had one guy, they didn't want to give me like a Bliss bar or whatever, and so the employee said, well, the black girl asked the employee, do we have any of these? I think we're out. And he said, no, twice, right, we're out, or whatever. Then when I got there, surprisingly, the parking lot was all forward, cars were all parked forward. As I came out, there was one guy waiting with a license plate, like a Keys license plate cover. Another one was parked, so two of those cars showed up. Another guy was looking for a spot with no license plate. Two cars were parked back, actually maybe almost four cars were parked backwards, but two cars behind me were parked backwards. And as I was leaving the lot, one guy followed me all throughout the lot, and then played this game like he doesn't know me, asking me when I showed him I wasn't scared, why am I taking pictures? And I told him to document the crimes going on and people following me in the lot. while he sits there and plays stupid. Well, why? What are you trying to do? And I said, well, stop people from stalking and trying to kill me. Oh, gee, like that doesn't register in someone's brain. Like if mass groups are following you, you generally don't like that. And when their intent is to kill you, people generally don't like that, right? So, trying to play stupid, trying to turn it around. Oh, gee, I don't know you, and I don't know what's going on, and why are you doing this, and you're a troublemaker, and you're a public nuisance, and yada, yada, yada. Just trying to make me look crazy. Gaslighting, gang stalking. Of course, that's all on video, too. So if anyone ever needs to look at it, right, sure, I pull into the parking lot. Cars are all forward. As I'm leaving, cars are now starting to pull backwards with people with whatever, the keys plates, and other cars pulling up, and then the guy following me. Oh, and then one more VW came at me trying to scare me with a guy in it, like going down the wrong lane as if he was going to like ram me head on or something, trying to intimidate me, right? So, of course, they're going to say he's causing problems because he took pictures of the parking lot, right? Of cars in the parking lot, right? And that's absurd, because that's like, if any person went out with a camera this day and age and someone said, oh, well, you took pictures in a parking lot, why are you taking pictures? Now there's 1,000 people following him. It's sure as hell not about a guy with a camera taking some pictures, and all of this starts way before I ever even got into photography. But anyways, back to topic, and you can see how this is all day and night 24/7 for them to try to distract me and sabotage my life until something really bad happens to rid me of the world. And trust me, the police, NSA, FBI, and every person worldwide pretty much knows this is going on, and they all turn a blind eye, helping the government try to have me killed. But, okay, so, Starbucks, or T1 class. Where was I? I was talking about T1 class, and, oh god, where was I? T1, Tom Farley, oh, that's right. So these arrests, they're questioning me about, T1 and if I'd ever been, moved back a grade. Well, who cares? What relevance does that have to do with the T in China? Right? Like all these things. Nothing, all these people, when they come after me, they're not coming after me based on facts or logic. They're coming after me based on random theories that you can't apply anything to. So my father, well, I've never said anything about T1 class. I could never care about T1 class. I couldn't even really remember T1 class being moved behind like first and second or something like that grade. I mean, you're a young child anyways. And I recall the story was that Tom Farley was also supposed to be moved back, but his family said no, or something like that, right? So now my father says something in my my father with Lorena Escobar hired me to work in his office several years after I found out Mike Huntley was hunting me with a worldwide campaign, police, NSA, FBI, to pretty much have me killed or removed from society. And at one point, my father told Lorena Escobar to hire me to work at his office for the sole purpose to tell the world that I'm in his office, I won't leave, I'm trying to take over the office, I'm doing all these horrific things to the employees, I think I'm a mob boss, this and that, with all sorts of these setup attempts, frame jobs, Lorena Escobar, my father, having my father's friend, Debbie Groveman, contact me to pay me to fix her son's computer, where she then afterwards tells me that I should try to get rid of Lorena because she doesn't know what she's doing, trying to manipulate me down the path they want me to, which they've done to me my whole life, and me telling her I have no interest in Golden State Sports Medical, some dead-end medical office where I'm not even a doctor. I have my own ideas and visions, which I'm working on to do something real and worth the shit, right? And even though, like usual, their manipulations failed, they still come after me, and Lorena Escobar still tells everyone that I'm trying to take over the company and this and that, showing their true colors. Now, during this time period, I worked at my father's office for 14 years doing IT, and the entire time they worked on me with every psychological warfare, terror tactic, with the police, government, and thousands of people alone showing up in his parking lots trying to make me mentally ill every single day for 14 years from the moment I walked in that office. So my father would say, Kevin, do you want to go out to lunch with me and Lorena Escobar? And then Lorena Escobar, with my father damn well knowing this, would tell the world that I'm somehow invading her space and trying to get rid of her or whatever. And during these lunches, restaurants worldwide were told to take turns in an anger rage, trying to provoke me into these reactions to try to make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo, while my father just sat there helping and watching and then trying to make me look crazy. And one of these conversations pertained to my father stating that I was angry about being moved back a grade in T1. Okay, well, like everything else, I never specifically stated that I was angry about it, right? He just made it up. Okay, well, that happens. There are people that they operate on zero fact, and they make up things. And that's people. People are people. But the problem is when your father's making up these fabrications and the police are hunting you down with worldwide groups, now they're not just gossip, drama, and fabrications. They are strategic criminal accusations and things like this to rid someone of the world. Now, we can derive that my family's saying that I'm supposedly acting out in anger and rage because I was moved back a grade, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So where does that come from? You can't just sit there and ask, why is this happening and what it's about, or not ask why is this happening or what it's about. You have to understand why worldwide groups are hunting you down to kill you and rid you of the world. When you're told you're imagining it, and your father's spouting off weird shit that you're angry because of this and that, or your mother's saying that you're acting out, right? Okay, well, let's do the math. You got a father that says his son's angry and acting out and a violent danger to himself or others because of T1 class, right? Something I could have cared less about. You got Tom Farley, who my entire life is in an anger rage and competing with me and smearing my name and trying to set me up and frame me and following me all across the world, except where everything falls apart is that where does Tom Farley get this funding, right? I mean, sure, there are people that don't like people, and there are people that are jealous of people, and there are even psychotics with lack of control, like my family, right? But generally, they usually lack the power to organize worldwide murder operations with police resources in a covert manners. I mean, normally if you're a friend with some psychotic, jealous nut job, they just pull out a crowbar like my brother does and bash your skull in, right? Okay, so that's where things fall apart. So you can derive that Tom Farley is making up all these lies about me, that I'm doing all these things, and I'm acting out, and I'm abused all these women that doesn't exist because I watched him try to frame me and set me up with waitresses at Yankee Doodles and things like that. You can derive that he's saying these things, and I trace the communication back around 29 to these paranoid schizophrenia tactics with him in direct contact with my father behind my back. Okay, so here's the next question. You have a friend you've known him for 30 years, and you find out that he's disseminating information to your father, right? He's following you around, he's trying to set you up, and he's disseminating information to your father. Well, anyone with common sense is going to say, well, why is Tom Farley disseminating information to your father? He's supposed to be your friend, and you've known him for 30 years. But he's not your friend. He's your jailer. And if you don't do what Tom Farley and my father says, you're met with being hunted and killed, basically. Okay? I mean, let's take the bullshit out. That's what it all comes down to. Okay. So now, you understand that there's a certain set of fabrication and lies being intentionally generated with Tom Farley, me, this T1 class, my father, based on things they just pulled out of their ass like everything else. Okay? Except the part where the world's told that I'm a crazy person because of it is the ultimate crime. Not only on a civil level, but because their intent is to have me hunted and killed, makes it attempted murder. So let me jump back. We have T1 class now, Sunny Skies Day Camp, where I went to camp there, and then I started to go, probably for a year, to a, there's lots of gray and blacks in this area where they seem to know I'm going to pick something up. So, I can't remember the separation between camp and school, but that's what my mother said, but my mother's a pathological liar like the rest of them. But I do know I went there for like a year for this T1 class, and I'm guessing it's between 1st and 2nd grade. This is the big, absolutely nothing at all happened like everything else in my life. But Kevin did all these horrible things that he's a crazy man and a violent paranoid schizo needs to be removed from society, which is consistent with pretty much almost every person I've been in contact with my entire life to remove me from society. In T1 class, it was some cheeseball camp school, with a few little classrooms and a few teachers, and now looking back, the whole thing might have been some kind of scam, but, we had I can recall a big grass field. I can recall some of those trailer rooms. I can recall, it was like a farm, so I can recall, I think they had like chickens in cages or running around and then, things like that, right? And they had a little creek and water going under a little tiny bridge where you pull up and you go on the campus or whatever. Okay, so anyways, at one point I'm down by like the footballish fieldish. It wasn't really a football, but a big thing of grass where people play sports on. And I'm down there, and there's a black girl. I guess we're both probably like 8 or 10 or something, who knows. And I can't remember the dialogue, conversation, or anything. I just remember I think we both kind of like pecked each other's lips, not some porno kiss or anything, and that was it, right? I mean, stupid shit that nobody cares about. Most families would be like, good, it shows that my son has emotion and he's a normal person. Now, after this, all the weird things started happening, which I was not aware of up until maybe looking back at around 38 years old, when I started putting together my family's patterns of behavior with these mass terror operations to rid me of the world. And sorry, I was looking at my GPS. Well, I'm arriving at my location, so I'm gonna pause it for a few, and then I'll start this up again. We got a car waiting for me. There we go. Okay. So I'm leaving the place where I picked up the package, and you'll notice that as I was getting here, within less than a mile, I started taking pictures of people in solid gray pants, or solid black pants, and solid gray shirts, like I stated on the camera. Not only that, there's a guy in a car with a Galpin Ford blue and white plate cover, sitting in the car waiting for me, which what they do is they sit and they wait to make it obvious to intentionally try to create paranoia. And of course he texts the people here where I'm picking up the package and this and that, notifying everyone in the local area that I'm arriving, right? Now you'll notice just in the last 2 places I've stopped off at, a random Starbucks stop and a going to pick up a package, the amount of illegal neighborhood watch resources alone on me, right? Okay, now think about that. But it's not about anything. For example, the claims, well, Kevin's a white supremacist, but he's never done anything wrong and never harmed a hair on anyone's head, doesn't quite cut it for billions of government dollars invested to hunt down, torture, stalk, try to make someone mentally ill and rid them of the world in the name of the greater good, because Kevin Pearlman could possibly be a potential problem one day, goes against the entire Constitution of the United States, and without that, nobody is safe. So, for example, while none of these people care because they have their freedoms, who's next? And I guarantee you, the first day of it, that person will do a 180 on their thought process when they're targeted, right? So, why are these people doing it? Well, they're pathetic lowlifes who want some kind of attention, so they're contacted by people with authority, using them as tools to make them think they're police officers when really they're committing mass crimes, which is called vigilante, or taking the law in your own hands based on not even a crime, just, we don't trust you. Okay, well, that's like saying I could walk up to someone and go, I don't trust you, and bash their skull in with a crowbar like my brother does, because I'm a good guy, because I don't trust you, and therefore I'm better than you, and I have the right to do these horrible things to you because I'm better than you. Well, what makes this person better than that person? Nothing, right? They just, oh, and here he is, here's the guy, he's waiting for me and leaving at the same time, right? He's in a gray Accord, right? So he was waiting for me. He notified them. I'm leaving. He's waiting for me. And when he sees me, he does a U-turn in front of me, leaving to signal to me that he's watching me, right? The same death threats I have on video from Topanga LAPD. We're watching you, Pearlman. Now, of course, he's all videoed on DVR. Doing that so you can understand what's going on, but of course this isn't like a one-time thing. This is all day and night, 24/7, every single place I go in the world, these mass groups. Okay, so I've just, and on my car DVR on video, just told you what's going on before it even happened, basically. And not only this, but I've called like hundreds of private investigators to help me, and each one figures out a way to not help me, making up some lame excuse or trying to make me look crazy. So really, that in itself is beyond any level of insane. To find out you're being stalked by people trying to make you mentally ill, and go from private investigator to private investigator, and then either trying to fraudulently rip you off while trying to get coerced false confessions, help make you paranoid, steal your money, and do whatever it takes to actually not help you, so that you can't get help, right? So think of the billions of dollars invested on Kevin Pearlman, who has committed the crime of being told to go to T1 class and kissing a girl, right? Doesn't make any sense. But remember what I was talking about before with my family, all with psychology degrees, working with the psychology community, thinking that they're special and above the law, thinking that they're God, thinking that they can do whatever they want because they have psychology degrees. Well, I can tell you that I've met a lot of psychologists, psychiatrists. Oh, and we have a cop now following me, so this might be interesting. So I can tell you, and I was driving behind him. He made a right turn behind him. He pulled in the lane to the left of me. And then when I passed him, he got back behind me. Now he's pulling up to the left, my left for some reason. He's hiding in the rear quarter. Oh, no, he creeped by. And now he's back in the left on my side, which, who knows what angle he's working. Yeah, so the psychology community, I've talked to a lot of these jabos. Most of them are just complete morons. I mean, you're talking about most of these people either, they come from probably a rich family, they go to college, probably their mommy and daddy pays for them to go to college, and they take some psychology classes, and they feel special, and that they're better than everyone else, and then they start spewing off their power plays, how you could be a danger to yourself or others, and if that happens, I can report you to the police to try to control and intimidate you in cases that they don't want you talking or something like that, or you know too much. You name it. And I've gone from psychiatrist to psychologist to therapist, and they're all pretty much cookie cutter, power hungry, sad people that are looking for something to feel important. And while I hate to generalize, really most of them I met have been like that. They're just pathetic. And so they're not honest, they're pathetic, they could not care about you. The psychiatrists are more of like glorified drug dealers, right? They just sit there just cramming as much medication as they can, as if they actually know what they're doing. Whatever, it's a joke. And for me to go to any of those people and tell them about my life, I'm always met with the same, you don't talk or we kill you. And we're working with the police in these mass groups worldwide. And so, anyways, back to Sunny Skies day camp or T1 class or whatever, which my mother has a problem because she found out that I like dark rainy weather, and somehow she applies that to all these lame imaginary theories in her psychotic head, as if someone can't just like different things than her. But needless to say, sorry, I was trying to figure out where I left off with T1. Okay, so in T1, I kissed the black girl. And hold on, it sounds like a guy in a truck's revving an engine, so I can't. Okay, so I kissed this black girl in T1. Who cares, right? I mean, who cares? So what? That's a good thing. You got a kid, he likes women. That's a good thing. And more importantly than liking women, he likes different races and cultures. That's a good thing, right? Okay, well, not in my family. After this, my family tells everyone that I have anger and rage, I hate black women, and at one point, Kevin's a white supremacist to the world. Okay, so where does that come from, right? It's the same thing. Kevin likes rain, therefore he's a horrible monster and needs to die. Kevin kissed the black girl, he's a horrible monster and needs to die, right? Well, it's got to come from somewhere. And I can tell you that maybe, I was going to say maybe my family aren't the smartest oranges in the box or whatever, but that wouldn't be true. My father's an orthopedic surgeon, and you don't become an orthopedic surgeon by being a stupid moron. My brother is an orthopedic surgeon who can drink 100 beers and get A pluses and 4.0s at the same time. And my mother is an art therapist, and well, she's just completely neurotic though. And so you get the idea that while they say these crazy things that some backwards bucktooth hick would say, they're not those people. So now you have to talk about the whys. If they're not stupid moronic idiots that have absolutely no common sense, less than a 10-year-old, right? Then why are they saying what they're saying? Well, obviously they're saying what they're saying to get what they want, right? They're making up lies to get what they want, kind of like a politician, right? He'll tell you what you want to hear to get what he wants. Well, what do they want? Well, Kevin kissed a black girl at 8 years old or 10 years old, I'm not sure. What does Kevin want? Or, sorry, what does Kevin's family want? Because why are they mad about something that nobody cares about, right? Well, I can tell you. They want Kevin to associate with the same exact robotic person as my family, as them, right? Now, my family are Jewish, right? Okay, so I'm Jewish. I was born Jewish. I'm not a devout Jew. I'm not reading the Torah every single day of my life. I go into temple 100 times a week or 1 time a week. But I have Jewish blood, Jewish bloodlines, but that's about as Jewish as I am, right? And if you think about it, that isn't that strange, because I would say that 90% of the people I've ever known or been around in the United States and probably everywhere else, whether they're Jewish, Christian, Persian, whatever, most of them aren't gung-ho religious freaks or radical religious people. They're just born with this religion, and in this day and age, different groups mixing together is accepted, especially with the United States, called the melting pot, for the very reason that different races and cultures get together. And if you were to go into a corporate office right now, I guarantee that you would see black, Asian, Persian, and all different nationalities and religions all sitting next to each other in cubicle after cubicle, right? So kissing a black girl is not a big deal. Nobody could care. So why is the Perlman family with the police and government stating that Kevin is a white supremacist and full of anger and rage because he kissed a black girl, right? Well, the answer is simple. The answer is that I come from a bigoted racist family, okay? And it's not the typical racism. It's kind of like Jews are better than everyone else, and you need to associate with only Jewish people, and you need to date a nice Jewish girl, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. So, what happens is Kevin Perlman kisses a black girl at this very young age, and they see the signs of someone that's open-minded and friendly and kind and giving and generous, and not like them, not like the psychotic murderer personality that they have, right? The control freak, psychotic murderer, you do what we say or we kill you, right? So from here, this is where things don't make sense though. From here, all sorts of resources are used way out of a normal family's capability, and they start to stage operations to frame me that they've been doing all day and night, 24/7, for 40 years, right? They bring in a band called Devo. Most people probably know the 80s, I think, band Devo, because they're well known for a song named Whip It Good, right? And so that band played Whip It Good, and I'm sure several other songs, and that was that. I never thought anything of it, but after this, let me skip to high school just because. In high school, my father and mother, for some reason, for no reason at all, bought us bullwhips. And I believe that the reason they bought it, they were hinting about the song Whip It Good, and they were also working on all sorts of angles while I was in high school with a black person named Damon Riggins, who drove a Camaro and I drove a Trans Am, and we raced around a little, joking around each other, right? Which has nothing to do with race, but yet they're somehow saying that it's racial and that I hate Damon Riggins and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And so I committed crimes against him too by doing absolutely nothing wrong, right? The high school things are crazy, the things that were done to me. But from teachers telling me to hit students to try to have me arrested for assault and things like this. But you name it, right? Okay, so just to show you I want to skip forward to show you how these are connected events, right? These aren't random events. And so I think even at one point I was joking around with the whipping it, and I accidentally whipped my brother's finger, and he probably went around saying how I tried to kill him or something, because they all do the same cry wolf things. Okay, so anyways, we got the band Devo, where they're trying to make it look, why? Okay, you're probably thinking in your head, right? Why, after Kevin Perlman kisses a black girl, would we bring Devo in? What's the reasoning, right? Does that make sense? Well, it does once you understand the psychological warfare. You kiss a black girl, your family says you're a white supremacist, a racist, and you hate black people, right? After that, they bring a band in called Devo, who sings Whip It Good, and then they tell the world that your son's crazy, too sensitive, and he conforms to media, and he's a schizo, right? So now, the psychology community with the police and government are working all the angles, right? They're labeling you as a racist and white supremacist, and they're trying to make it look, keyword, make it look like you're crazy and conform to music, but yet they haven't said anything specific, like you've done something. Like, did I bash your skull in with crowbars or anything, or punch her 100 times, or even one time? No, nothing at all happened, but I kissed the black girl, right? But yet here comes the Perlman family with immense government resources and the psychology community to hunt me down after kissing a black girl. Now, does this really have to even do with race? No, it doesn't. It's just a way to try to remove me from society by getting whatever they can to use against me. Now, at the same time, right at the same period, right when Devo played, right before, I think, the Kissing the Black Girl, which they're so mad at me about, one of the teachers in the class was cooking something. They were like, I don't know, these were cheeseball classes, so, it's like being at camp. They're cooking something, we're all sitting around, she grabs some eggs, she cracks the eggs, and a fertilized little chicken, half embryo, half bloody chicken comes out and falls into the bowl, right? Whatever. Now from that, my family's going around saying that I suffered a traumatic event, and I can't function in society, and I'm crazy, and this and that. They're also somehow linking it to black people and the girl I kissed because some of the black community that was stalking me and followed me to Starbucks locations and wouldn't leave me alone. And keep in mind, this is 30 years later, and how would they even have that information? While I was on my bicycling home, egged me, right? And that was directly linked back to childhood, and the black community told to hunt me down with every other race and culture for kissing a black girl, right? So the point I'm getting at is, why would black communities be hunting down a 40-year-old because he kissed a black girl 8 years old? Doesn't make sense. And then it'd be the end of the world, saying you're not allowed to tell anyone that none of this is true, shows everyone's true color that this isn't even about race, right? It's just about exterminating someone. Because the psychology community and government decided they were going to kill me. And that's it. That's what it's about, killing a person. And so let me think. Sunny Skies. The only other thing I can really remember about Sunny Skies Day Camp, I think, is a kid I met at that age. I think his name was Dylan, and I stayed over his house one night, and we ate pancakes in the morning, and something with the syrup upset my stomach and puked. But I don't think I can really remember much more about Sunny Skies Day Camp or T1, which is a joke to begin with. But the point I'm getting at is that these aren't things people care about. Nobody could care about this. Okay, so after this, everyone needs to understand the connected events. For example, my family's telling the world that I'm crazy, suffer obsession and obsessional looping, and can't move on, right, with my life. But that's a load of shit, because I had never even thought about this crap until after 29, when I realized there was a worldwide campaign to kill me, and they weren't going to stop, right? And then finally being forced to try to put the pieces together, because when you're watching a worldwide campaign to kill you with White House security, every private investigator in the world, every police officer, every person you're in contact with, trying to make you look crazy and like a violent paranoid schizo to remove you from society, you need answers, and you need to understand what's going on, and then you need the world to understand what's really going on, how they're being used and tooled and given disinformation in such a way that the targets like me can't defend ourselves. Just like Mike Huntley and my father said, you're not allowed to defend yourself or whatever, right? Well, why would someone not be allowed to defend themselves? That's like me saying, I'm allowed to kill you and you're not allowed to react. Just die. Right? I think it's pretty important to understand that what's going on, the whys, to be able to explain it to people, especially the ones that tell you it's not happening and forget it and move on and do what they say or they'll kill me, is basically that Adolf Hitler, you do what we say or we kill you. And these people that are doing this are police officers, judges, lawyers, congressmen, senators, presidents, right? And so it's unacceptable. It's not acceptable. And anyone in my shoes that lived every single day of his life watching worldwide people try to kill him and not even really be told what the hell it's really even about, not that there could be any explanation that justifies it. There can't. You get the idea. So now let me talk about the connected events with the black community or black people, or connected and linked related events growing up, so you understand this isn't a one-time thing. Kevin Perlman, me, is being followed and pursued from mass groups worldwide, from place to place, with the same arguments to them in secret behind my back, so that I can never say anything, while they try to make it look like I'm crazy while trying to hunt me down and kill me, right? And so I'm going to talk about how it goes from kissing a black girl to black people in high school, to black people in college, to this, to that. All strangers, completely different people I've never seen in different cities and states, all know me before I ever get there, or they're notified right after I get there in extremely large groups to send them after me to stalk me on these government operations. Let's see. Okay, middle school. Let's see, in middle school there was a black kid I was friends with named Scott Spaulding, but I can't remember any of it except sleeping over his house, and that's it. And I can't remember the specifics of that. So I can't tell you if I slept over his house and my family was out saying I tried to chop his head off or something. I can't tell you that one. Middle school, well, Scott Spalding in middle school, I think. We then jumped to Calabasas High, 9th grade, where, once again, the nicest person known to man, fun-loving, friends, went out, social, got into building cars on my own at 16, which I was 16 in 9th grade because my family moved me back in T1 class, right? So while I was 16 towards the end of 9th grade, or in February, I guess, my family moves me back, my family moves me back, I'm 16, and so I'm actually driving in 9th grade instead of 10th grade, right? I'm a little older than everyone else, and a little younger than my brothers. So I'm actually in between my brother's 2 years older, so I'm in between his friends and my friends. Oh, sorry, looking for a parking spot. So, I'm driving in 9th grade, and I loved cars back then. I was building RC cars when I was young from scratch, and wiring them up and putting in little faster electric motors and modifying them, and building a gas car. I built a gas car, which was a nightmare to get started. I mean, that was a whole ordeal. The technology today, it's a no-brainer, but back then you had to use like a little rubber donut, airplane starter donut, and try to put it against a disc, and it would fly off the disc. And I mean, while trying to prime a gas motor, or this little ring flying off. Eventually I got it started, which my father made up lies that I never got it started, and I failed. But the part I did actually fail was the part where, after I got it started, the servo frequency flipped out and it went haywire and drove off our hill towards Darren Moselle's house, and it got all, even though it had a metal roll cage on it, got all twisted up and bent from the fly through the air and landing on the hill. But whatever, that's just a 14-year-old who takes it upon himself to build gas cars by himself or whatever. Anyway, so I loved cars, and I loved hot rods. And so when I was 16, I would stay up at night reading Hot Rod magazine, and I used to love the tubbed hot rods with the wheelie bar, or and the streeter, the Pro Streets with the 671 blowers and the wide rear tires, which are completely out of style now. And I used to love that crap, right? People putting huge engines in Opel GTs or Vegas or whatever, the big block era. I used to love all that. And so at 16, once I got into cars, everyone was getting newer cars like BMWs and this and that. And so I decided I didn't want a newer car. I wanted an older, more fun car, like a 68 Camaro or something, right, that I could work on. And while going through some of these, like going to buy some of these cars, some of these cars were totally overkill for me. But I ended up buying an 85 Trans Am for like, I think it was like 7,000 or 8,000 or something, used, that I could work on, instead of getting a brand new BMW or that crap that everyone else was getting, right? And so, and I just, wanted to screw around with cars. That's pretty much it. And so, sorry, barking. So basically, I'm the only 16-year-old I know that got into messing around cars, and actually lifting engines out of them and putting in new engines and rebuilding engines from a book, teaching myself how to do these things. Except I think I had a kid, Shane Weeks, in my class that, well, I did have a friend, Shane Weeks, in my class. He was in our little clique, and he probably got into cars a year, or driving a year after, and built cars through his family or whatever, after me. And there was an event with Shane Weeks, which was a frame job and setup by Brian Weaver, where he saw me pointing his empty paint gun at him, pulling the trigger, and so he loaded it so I would shoot Shane, and I accidentally shot Shane under the eye, not wanting to shoot anyone, but of course, it actually turned out it wasn't an accident with Brian Weaver, because he was interlinked with all sorts of other things, not just this one coincidence, but all sorts of other things to make it look like I'm an angry rage child who is doing all these things and has no self-control and this and that, working with Pineapple Joe at Hawaii Racing, all these setup and frame jobs, and you name it. So anyways, I'm going to stop and get some food, and today it is Peruvian food, and ironically now I will have porn stars like Alexis Amor and the Mexican and Latin community and Peruvian community saying I'm committing a crime because I'm somehow eating Peruvian food, and that's not allowed because I'm wronging this person and I'm wronging that person by walking into some Peruvian restaurant. I don't know one person to eat food, which I like all food, just like I like all cultures, and like everything else, just me simply walking in to get some Peruvian food at a Peruvian restaurant. There should not be strangers hunting me down saying I'm somehow now committing crimes by eating Peruvian food, and I guarantee tomorrow if I go into a Japanese or Chinese restaurant, they'll have the same exact argument about the Chinese or Japanese, right? And if I go into a German restaurant, it will then switch to them, right? Showing inconsistency and showing that their lies go from person to person, place to place, just to exterminate me with worldwide support. But so I'm gonna pause this for now and get some food, and then I will come back and I will continue with the high school events and the black community. Alright, so let's see, I ate, thank God, ate Peruvian. We had a few whistlers, a few of the color patterns. This time it wasn't really as bad as usual. I think last time a police officer came in on like lunch break pretending it was just a random event to try to kind of scare me, with lots of whistling and clothing patterns like in twos coming in. Anyway, so it wasn't too bad this time. Let's see, but you can see from just my morning events that each and every place I've gone, I've met with covert psychological terror operations, like the whistling, the grays and blacks. Oh yeah, there were I think probably 2 or 3 gray pants with solid black, or solid black pants with solid gray shirts in the Peruvian place. So you can see how it's a global event. For example, the entire city is told to wear the same colors, speaking of which, depending on where I go, later on more and more of those people will show up. And while I have no proof, my guess is they're probably just notified through emails or SMS systems. For example, hey, we got a group of people
citywide, told to wear the same exact things, directed at Kevin Perlman. Kevin Perlman goes here, someone sees him, they text out to their terror systems, this is where Kevin is. If they're not tracking my cell and all that like they used to, then maybe 10-15 minutes, because these messages go worldwide, the closest people around start showing up, following me to the same places, as one of their tactics. And because every person I have any type of conversation with knows me and mimics back my sayings, whether they be on social networks or to other people, it's a suggestive message that I know who you are, but it's not directly said, showing that there's some kind of line of communication out to the world. But yet, each and every person, not one person will admit it. They'll say, I don't know you, right? Well, what's the reasoning behind that? The reasoning behind that is to create paranoia. But anyway, so where was I? I was talking about, I was getting to high school. And the black or African American community in high school. So I turned 16, I get into building cars, I buy my 1985 Trans Am, which there's this huge correlation with my family trying to make me look crazy, because the name Trans Am has a T, and for some reason my brother and his friends started working some weird transvestite angle, and they're going to T me, even to a point where a lady, and this has happened several times over the last 30 years, but a lady waiting for me by the Honda dealership on the side of the road saw me coming and launched her car perpendicular to me on Ventura Boulevard by the Honda dealer to cause an accident, and instantly jumped out of her car screaming that I had tried to kill her, which was very strange. It wasn't just some lady upset that she's fucked up and got out and said, oh shit, there's an accident. No, she got out saying I tried to kill her, and the insurance company notified to dig for information when calling me up, saying it was 50-50 on fault. Now, if you're driving straight down the road and someone launches their car in front of you, perpendicular to the road in the fast lane, it's not even remotely close to 50-50. It is completely their fault. So, with enough of these weird, strange events, you say something really fucked up is going on. And to make that one situation even weirder, probably several months before that, or I'm not sure the exact time period, driving to Calabasas High in the rain, someone in a motorcycle in front of me intentionally slid their motorcycle in the rain and instantly got back up. They weren't hurt, and everyone was told that I rammed the motorcycle in front of me and I'm full of anger and rage, right? So now you can kind of make the correlation if you start analyzing the situation, is that we have a motorcycle rider that frames me, trying to make it look like I hit him, and then we have a lady waiting in front of the Honda dealership and launches her car perpendicular to mine, and then says I tried to kill her, right? Okay, why did she say I tried to kill her? It was just an accident that happens every day of our lives. So why did she say I tried to kill her, right? And why did the insurance company go through this insane investigation that I tried to kill her when it's an obvious accident? Okay, and to just put the sugar-coated topping on that one, after the motorcycle slid in the rain, my wrestling coach, Brock Delp, disappeared for maybe 6 months with them saying he got in a motorcycle accident. right? Now, I'm totally for coincidences and all that, and I never even thought of this back then until you start looking at the situation and the accusations that I did something horrible, and they keep hinting that I rammed people with my car and things like this over and over to try to get these coerced false confessions. You get the idea. All these events are linked. There's freaky things going on in each one, and they're not normal situations, and they just keep happening over and over. Well, people keep trying to torture me into coerced false confessions with hints of guilt and things like that. So, example, if someone for like in my life, someone might want to hint that I rammed someone with my car, so they might park 10 Ram pickup trucks in front of my house every day until we're way beyond any point of coincidence, and then the human mind obviously wonders what the hell is going on and why are they using Ram pickup trucks, right? And so there is strategic planning with the psychology community to torture me into false confessions, just like someone tying you to a chair and slicing on you with a knife, saying you better admit to what you did, right? And never stopping. So anyways, in high school, after buying the Trans Am, my brother's things with his friends with transvestites, Trans Ams, T-boning people. They use T a lot, which now it's turned into IT. My father hired me to do IT, and the cops and these people ask me what I do, and then they attack me in rage as if IT means something other than information technology, and if there's some kind of meaning behind it. But really what they're doing is trying to hint that I've done something, insinuate with innuendos that I've done something to get their coerced false confession to torture me to death, which generally isn't done. What's done is if there's probable cause for a crime, you're arrested for it, and that's it. And then it goes to court to prove whether you're innocent or guilty. There's no such thing as I think and I'm going to hunt you down the rest of your life until you tell me, because that's what you call torture and murder. So anyways, I get into building cars. I get my Trans Am, I'm reading my hot rod magazines and books. I think the first engine I pulled out, the first thing I did to my engine was I took the 305 out of the 85 Trans Am, rebuilt it, put in high compression, I think 11-to-1 pistons, and I think a camshaft, put it back in. Of course, one day Tom Farley brings over Tracy Picos for hidden messages, whatever, and that's that. The radiator hose broke during the break-in process, and I overheated the engine before it was broken in, and so I believe that probably screwed up the rings on that rebuild, because I think I had a compression leak. And Joe at Hawaii Racing, I told him about it to get his advice, told me that's called Black Death. Now, I can't tell you if frying the rings is called Black Death, and I highly doubt it is called Black Death, but that's what Joe, Pineapple Joe at Hawaii Racing, and Thousand Oaks at the time, which moved to Simi Valley, which is probably now in Simi Valley, called it Black Death. And I'm guessing he was doing what my family does, and the police, is they give me some off-the-wall term or something like this to hope that I say it over and over to make me look crazy or racist. So I think their hopes were I walk around saying I screwed up my engine and I got Black Death, and then of course Joe and anyone else involved would turn around and go, I don't know what Black Death is. He keeps saying Black Death. He must hate black people. right? Things like this. For example, one of the private investigators I hired, called Empire something, who tried to set me up and frame me with the whole Julia Sophia things out in Downey and steal my money and this and that, who the police, like everyone else, didn't want to hold accountable, saying there's no crime in fraudulently stealing your money and posing as a business to steal your money. Well, yeah, there is. It's called fraud. The police told me it was like bribery by trickery, and this was right at Halloween in like 2015 or 16, right? So they wanted to make me look crazy by saying, yeah, these people are responsible for bribery by trickery and around Halloween, right? Now, these aren't your friends joking around with you. This is the police department doing these things while people are trying to kill you, right? And you're trying to get help, and they're stealing the people you're trying to get help from so you can stay breathing, or stealing your money, and then the police are trying to make you look crazy to, what? Put you in mental institutions or jail cells. Okay, so we got the car, we got the whole Black Death thing. I won't go into my brother's transvestite things in the movie Crying Game. That's for later. So at this point, I have a Trans Am, and there's Damon Riggins. I'm the wrestler, and Damon Riggins the football player, and he's a black football player. And I couldn't care less. Football, wrestling, hockey, cool sports. I'm really not into baseball, but if you're into baseball, fine, cool sport for you, whatever. Needless to say, I was a wrestler. He was a football player, and he had the Camaro, and I had my souped-up Trans Am, and we would joke around with each other, leaving the school, kind of racing around a little as we left, right? You know that the male the male high school pissing contest, right? Two kids in high school just joking around, and so not really anything anyone could care less about, and fairly normal for kids to joke around with each other like that. But somehow, all of a sudden, this goes into competing and racial. So Kevin's competing with people, Kevin's trying to destroy people's lives, Kevin's trying to kill people, and Kevin also hates black people and is probably trying to kill Damon Riggins because he's black with his car or something stupid like this, right? Probably just like out of the movie Wraith, right? That my family was trying to skull fuck me or gaslight me with, right? And so, like usual, back then I had no clue they were using movies to try to flip me out. I just noticed the Wraith crap probably watching it a month ago, and then maybe a couple of years ago, and said, hey, wait a minute, some of the things that were said to me were from the movie The Wraith, and ironically, some of the coincidental things I said were out of the movie The Wraith, too. But for me, it's coincidence, and for them, they're actually doing it. Okay, so, and it wasn't something, you know, it was something like go for it or something, right? It was something that could be applied to all sorts of things that I said. But, anyways, so me and Damon screw around a little, and I never really think much of it, because I don't think it's the type of the type of thing that anyone really could care less about. So after this, I think this is about 10th grade, on the wrestling team, and I think this is when Brock was supposedly in the hospital, and we had a wrestling coach, Jono, which everyone loved Jono, and they didn't like Brock, and they all wanted to replace Brock with Jono, and it was this big old thing, and the school said, well, we can't do that because Brock is your coach, and Jono's a replacement, and well, I agree with that policy. For all I know, they were probably saying I was the ringleader to get rid of Brock or something, right? I mean, that one I never picked up on, but knowing what's going on, there's probably a high chance 50% possibility that they're saying Kevin's trying to get rid of Brock. Now, at this time, a black girl wants to join the wrestling team. Now, while that is pretty rare that a girl wants to join the wrestling team, it's not necessarily unheard of. It's happened before. But in this case, the black girl joins the wrestling team, and instantly the coach, which I think was John O, says practice with Kevin. Now, back then I didn't think a damn thing about it until I found out all the racial slurs against me and the mass attacks to kill me. Is pretty damn coincidental, right? We got the Black Death Pistons. We have the Damon Riggins things, which all sorts of things happened when I was at Signet at 28 or 7 or something with Mike Huntley. Damon Riggins was told to come into the office, and he might sign up to our company, right? Just one of those coincidences. Oh, hold on, we got like a stalled car in traffic or something. So all these little things that are sort of out of the norm, right? With hints and references, that I don't like black people, right? And so they put a black girl on the wrestling team to practice with me. At first, I might have in the old days said maybe they were just testing me to see what I would do, but like usual, I was the nicest person known to man. Now, if you're wrestling with a girl or a man, the object is to win in practice or whatever so that you get good. So it would be impossible for Kevin Perlman or anyone else to wrestle with a black girl and not try to win, or you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So of course, I would always beat her in practice, and that's not, and honestly, physically most men are stronger than women, and therefore if a female goes on a male wrestling team, most likely almost every time a guy's probably gonna win, unless she's like some super awesome like the best of the best wrestler. You never know, it's possible. Needless to say, I practiced with her. I did not do anything abusive but wrestle, and within a short period she quit. Now, common sense would dictate that if a girl joins a male wrestling team, she's probably going to end up quitting in a very high speed rate to begin with, because I don't think most women can compete with men on a wrestling team. Now, if a woman's on a female wrestling team, then the playing field's even. Needless to say, I'm pretty sure they were sort of trying to profile me to see if I would take out my anger on a black girl, so to speak. Now, obviously, like every other situation in my life, there's nothing I did to her or anyone else, but you can put your money on the fact that instantly after she quit, that she was running around saying I beat her up and was abusive and this and that, because why has the black community been hunting me my entire life if nothing bad has been said, right? That's the point. So if you put those puzzle pieces together, each of these incidences are frame jobs to make Kevin look like a horrible, mean woman hater or racist. And ironically, some of these accusations to me, especially by Tom Farley, is that I'm a woman beater and things like this. And that was taken out of some of my artwork and applied to me as if I'm a schizo, right? So for example, in college, in my Jim Johnson computer imaging class, I did a simple project of Mike Tyson composited fighting a game character Katana, and all the women's faces in college dropped as if my artwork was some kind of confession that I'm a woman beater, but that's not normal, right? I mean, that would mean no artist is safe to ever make a piece of art without being accused of he thinks he's in his artwork type of thing. And so, I gotta get gas, so I will pause this for a few. Okay, got gas. Or as Paul Humphrey would try to probably send me schizo messages, go-go juice. Okay, so, so you can see this pattern of strange behaviors with people in the black community trying to prove that Kevin Perlman hates black people, but of course it goes from thing to thing. Kevin hates black people, Kevin hates Asian women, Kevin's killing people with his car, Kevin's a woman beater, Kevin's this and that and the next thing. But there is insane amounts of resources being used. Government resources, teachers involved, police involved, from school to school, college to college, city to city, but no actual crime, right? No, hey, Kevin was 15 years old and he went out bashing black people's skulls in with baseball bats. Nothing like that ever happened, right? So, it all comes down to the psychology community going, I think this, I think that, to a point where I even mentioned rage to a Dr. Alex Lazar, and he took offense, and his eyes, due to my life, I become really good at reading people's expressions, and I mentioned some of these theories or accusations from the psychology community to psychiatrist Alex Lazar, about these people saying that I am full of rage, and with Mike Huntley, and his eyes dropped to the ground and he couldn't look at me straight to the face, meaning that I knew exactly one of their lies was going on. At that point, Dr. Alex Lazar in the psychology community went ballistic on me, working on me with model mayhem, trying to make it look like I am a fraudulent photographer, getting into photography to meet women, introducing me to a Rick Armando, supposedly band member of a band called 1994. I think to hint about the movie 1984, which is very similar to the things they're doing to my life. You name it, showing that something beyond any level of dimension is going on with the psychology community, right? And the amount of resources being used on profiling and pre-crime based on someone who's never done anything wrong, has been a really good person, just a bunch of empty theories, which they don't want to be held accountable for. So anyways, back to the wrestling team, the black girl trying to make it look like I beat up black women and hate black women on the wrestling team. Damon Riggins trying to make it look like I hate black people and competing with them in anger and rage. And who knows, maybe he's telling them I'm trying to run him off the road or something, I don't know. All based on kids screwing around on the roads a little with their cars, which is perfectly normal for 16-year-olds to do. I'm not the only one, and I've seen it even at 40 years old. I've seen tons of kids around my neighborhood alone or driving on the freeway, kids speeding and going fast and being a little reckless or whatever, and nobody's hunting them down for the rest of their life for breaking the speed limit, right? Okay, so now I can't think off the top of my head at Calabasas High any other things of them trying to frame me with black people. Now I go off to Southern Oregon State College, and I can't think of any black people anything happened there. I then transferred to University of Colorado. I can't really off the top of my head think of any issues with black people except for one, and that was with a setup or frame job operation with Chad Bowers, my friend, Nick, my photography teacher from University of Colorado, where I took my first film photography class, which there was a lot more going on with him aside from black people. There were things like people flipping the power breaker or power grid to shut off my power, so I missed the photography critique based on him saying the first day of class, if you don't make it to the photography critique, I will fail you instantly. But whatever, I'm not going into that today. And so Nick the photographer, what happened was Nick was going to fail me because my power got shut off and my alarm didn't work. Coincidentally, after making that weird speech, how if you don't make it to the critique, I'm going to fail you, I had a talk with Nick on my below average photography about it, saying, this isn't fair because I understand that I missed the critique, but there was still work involved and I should get some kind of grade. And so he said, okay, I'll give you a C. Now, if people are mad at me for talking to the professor for that would seem strange because he still has the power to fail me or not. That's still in his grasp if he doesn't like what I have to say. So, hold on, my camera thing's doing something funky and I gotta fix it. Okay, so he still has the power and opinion whether he wants to fail me or not, and he decided to give me a C for the work, but it was never critiqued, and that's upsetting to me as well because I like critiques, but whatever. My photography wasn't that good, but what happened was for the final photography project at the end of the class, even though my photography skills weren't the greatest, I intermixed my photography with my 3D graphics skills, which people weren't doing much back then because it was so new and nobody had the knowledge in colleges because most of it was either done in Hollywood with lots of money and it was all on film. So for example, now if you want to composite a photo with a character with a CG backdrop, you can do it in minutes. You take a digital photo with a digital camera, you copy it to the computer, you do your 3D animation with Alpha Channel, you composite the two layers together, it's a done deal. But back then, it was a whole process. I had to do my photography, develop my photography in a dark room. After the photography was developed, I had to transfer it onto a computer through scanners. I can't remember what they call them anymore, but they were extremely expensive photo scanners to get the photos into the computer. So you develop, you scan the image in, you create your 3D graphic, you composite it on computer, and then you reprint it onto film. Let me think. reprint it on the film, and then redevelop that into the dark room, because back then all digital, even if you did that in a movie, you have to spit it back out to film, which there was a machine called what was the machine called? I can't remember what the machine was called, but whatever. A telecine. You had to go back to film on a telecine. So it goes back to camera film, and then it's redeveloped back on film for the final project in class. And that was my final project, and I believe I called the project the SETI Project, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, based on me cruising around Denver, taking photos, and then putting aliens, funny comical aliens into the scene. This day and age, no big deal. You see it 100 million times a day, whatever. But back then, everyone in the class was floored. The teacher, Nick, was floored. And so I aced the final project. And so after this, Chad Bowers wanted to strategically set this thing up where he wanted to take me to the Sink, which was a restaurant on Broadway in Boulder, and figures there's fire trucks and something going on. Take me to so Chad wanted to get some food, and he was the one who lent me his camera for the photography class. It was a Canon AE1, an old film camera. This was before digital. And I meet Chad at the Sink, and ironic, there's a whole history between the Sink. The Sink is where my brother dated this hot girl Angie or something, and there were more frame jobs with Angie for my brother to try to frame me and make it look like I was macking on his old girlfriends in Colorado. I'm not going into that, but supposedly they had some graffiti or something that someone drew about my brother and Angie loving each other at the Sink. I don't know, I can't remember in detail. And so Chad wanted me to meet him at the Sink, which was a pretty cool restaurant on the hill on Broadway. And we come in, and Nick is at the bar, eating, drinking, I don't know. I sit down, I say hi to Nick because I'm a friendly guy, and it's not like I hold anything against him, right? He's just a teacher, supposedly. And I end up talking to Nick at the bar, and completely accidentally, in a non-intentional way, like an absent-minded professor type of way, blow off Chad, and he sits and eats by himself. But I saw the guy all the time, and I was friends with him, so it's not like it should be the biggest of deals, right? Needless to say, before Nick came in, I think I ordered a drink or something with Chad sitting at the table, and there was a black waitress, and the black waitress comes up and she says something non-personal, and I make some kind of non-personal joke, and in the joke there is absolutely nothing offensive at all, any way, shape, or form, to her, to women, to hate, anger, racism, you name it, nothing that could possibly be a miscommunication, unless she was like a paranoid schizo, right? At that point, she clams up, gets angry, and says like, I don't have the time for it, blah, blah, blah. Now, I never really thought anything of it. I just said, oh, well, whatever, pissy waitress, or some waitress having a bad day, about to go postal. I'm not going to push it. I never really thought anything about it until I sort of put the patterns of behaviors with black person after black person in an escalation of trying to prove that I hate black people. I can't remember much of my dialogue with Nick other than he was impressed. He wanted to do some things with me, but I think I might have been graduating or something like that. I can't remember. And while that seems very trivial and simple on the surface, in my life, nothing is trivial and simple because there's so much time, energy, thought, and manipulation to discredit my name and reputation. And so they just took that with Kevin's an anger and rage person who harasses black waitresses and put it in their laundry list, as they call it, of bullshit to try to figure out how to rid me of the world by riling up the world against me. Now I think we come to me living back in California, Mike starting Signet with me for 6 years, trying to destroy my life any way, shape, or form possible, and him having Damon Reagans come in our office to work on some angle, but I can't remember the specifics. But what I can tell you is that all the people that signed up for Signet hosting accounts were using their business names to try to turn Kevin Perlman and me into a violent paranoid schizo with hinting messages about their name directed at personal aspects of my life, which I wasn't picking up on at the time, so I can't be very specific of the names and things like that. And that's for another topic. For example, Mike was friends with a professor named Hal Plain, and he was working on some angle about me, an angry guy breaking into places, or hinting about the HAL computer from the movie 2001, that I'm like that computer or something, and I've killed someone or something like that, right? But I don't want to go there. I want to stick with the black community, or this Kevin Perlman is a white supremacist tactic of theirs. So after finding out at 29 with Mike Huntley's barrage of death threats and you're an out of control monster and you're careless and you're reckless and we're using the system against me and I had better live a careful life and have a good life now, letting me know that he actively destroyed my life and name with my family for whatever reasons. I have no clue, because I have a father that says I know what I did, and I have a mother that says my past caught up with me, but yet they refuse to be specific and tell me what any of this is remotely about. And once I start to get specific with them, they backtrack saying, I never said that, and you're imagining it, and you're paranoid. Okay, so after that, after 29, the black community started amping up their attacks, and just some of the ones off the top of my head were porn star Jada Fire following me to coffee shops in hopes that she could get any type of reaction, even me talking to her in a friendly way so she could say I'm stalking her. Vanessa Blue following me, another porn star, following me to the Coffee Bean in Ventura and Corbin, and I simply walked up to her and told her that I liked her work and was friendly. To be told that I'm following her and stalking her, while she acted out in anger and rage towards me. By the way, on that note, the amount of porn stars that have followed me to coffee shops, pretended they don't know me in hopes they could try to get some angry reaction, is probably in, if I were to throw a number, I'd say about 40 of them. Taylor Wayne, Jocelyn James, I think Carmela Bing, Lisa Del Sierra, Who else? Daniel Derrick. Whatever, you get the idea. I have to actually brainstorm to get all the names out. Oh, Kira Noir, probably 5 months ago. All the I don't know you, in hopes that they could try to get me angry or get them to do something they can use against me. And Kira Noir actually followed me to not only the Starbucks but the Ralph's the next day, while the security at Ralph's was harassing me because I think I walked up and talked to her in like one brief sentence, joking with her that I saw her again. And then the entire security with masked groups started going ballistic on me, like you can't talk to people in supermarkets and things like this, right? More things that don't make sense, trying to make it look like I'm somehow doing something wrong with the slightest things, right? Jada Fire also followed me to the Ralph's while having mass groups of black people attacking me, while she has a movie about cutting up Jews, which is obviously a joke in the movie, but back to the we're trying to make you schizo by making you think you're in a movie type of thing, right? Simply complimenting Vanessa Blue at a coffee bean means that I'm somehow a stalker and stalking her. Oh, Tia, when I was doing some photo shoots, a black girl, Tia, what was her name? I did some photo shoots with a girl named Tia Mache, who put on the clingy let's hang out and do photos, and we did, and then they tried to turn it into you're a fraud and a fraudulent photographer. She was also black, working all these angles. Who else? Sorry, let me gather my thoughts here, because there's so many things, and I'm trying to stick to the black community. But you can see a lot of these black people are porn stars, but it's really the black community worldwide. Oh, that's right. And while going to coffee shops, what Starbucks was doing was they would have black employees they would either hire black employees or have black employees follow me to locations to work at the same locations that I would go to on a regular basis, for the sole reason to constantly provoke me with their psychological terror tactics, to try to get reactions with the black employees to make it look like I'm a racist. And while I haven't done much video on the endless provoking passive-aggressive terror tactics done all day and night, 24/7, worldwide to me, I'll name off a few. For example, let's say you go into a Starbucks. Aside from 100 to 1,000 people coming in within 1 hour's period and never ending to provoke me, you also have, let's say you have a black employee at a coffee shop, and they'll sit there and they'll whistle at me the entire time, hour upon hour, on and off, which is done at every location worldwide to try to get a reaction. And if you were to react, they would say, oh, you went off on that guy because he whistled. Everyone whistles, right? Then you buy something from them. Maybe they tap on the counter twice from each and every location, signaling to you that it's directed at you, right? Then maybe when they hand you your coffee, they're mimicking or quoting lines from your social networks that you said while saying I don't know you to try to get a reaction. Now, you can imagine being in a room with watching hundreds to thousands of people per hour provoking you every day of your life, while thousands of cars show up in the parking lots, parking backwards in patterns of 2s and 3s, identical cars, to blue Civics, to red Civics, to yellow Focuses, all showing up directed at you, while the black employee is the ringleader trying to get that reaction for you to just snap and like try to kill them, right? Okay, so the point I'm making is you can't say that guy's a racist and hates black people and then follow the guy around with 1,000 people per hour trying to provoke him into a reaction, and if they get the reaction, go, look, he just attacked a black person, he's a racist, right? Well, that has been going on. That one thing that I've just explained has been going on from coffee shop to coffee shop since I found out at 29, so that's about 17 years, with every coffee shop in the world, with not just black employees, but that's a large one of their tactics, to try to get me to go ballistic on black employees, to lock me away, right? They're also taking things out of my art to look like I'm a violent, paranoid schizo who hates black people. So, for example, like I said before, I did a picture of, oh, that's right, in my University of Colorado Jim Johnson computer imaging class with these frame job operations. Jim Johnson was contacted to set me up, try to frame me, where he put on the sleeping dog contest, which I mentioned, I think, in an earlier video, that the sleeping dog was all based on our dog Rhoda biting Vasu. That's why he used that name. I put up Tyson fighting Katana, and all of a sudden University of Colorado was told I hate black people, I'm a wife beater, and I think that I'm Mike Tyson, right? Well, that doesn't make any sense. And the most important thing that people need to realize is, how does a piece of artwork in a class of 30 kids go worldwide? And that goes from every college art class I've ever been in, showing that unethical forms of communication are happening to collect everything I do, take it out of context, and give it out to the entire planet to rile them up against me. Now, in Jim Johnson's case, they tried to pull this scam of Jim Johnson saying, and this is back in like 95 when the internet first came around, I want to put up a website called the Sleeping Dog Contest and put this class's art on it as if the world's going to see it. Yeah, right. Let me tell you that even today, if I build a website, it's a full-time job just getting small traffic to the website. I mean, I can invest $5,000 a month, and I'll be lucky if I get 1,000 visitors, right? So back in 1995, some lame-ass college professor puts up the Sleeping Dog Contest on the internet, and somehow the world sees it. Yeah, right. Bullshit, right? Okay, so, and not only that, but the world sees it, and they're only mad at one person's art. Because remember, Mike Tyson fighting a game character Katana is not mean, violent, scary, or anything. There's nothing derogatory or mean. Hence, if that was the case, every single person in that class would be hunted for extermination like me, right? Okay, so you get the idea. Now the plot thickens. After 29, after Mike Huntley, right, I find out something's wrong with my life. I find out I wasted 6 years with Mike Huntley, who the only reason he wanted to start a company with me was to hunt me down and kill me with my family and government and psychology community, trying to, who knows what their motives are. For what I know, ultimately, they don't want me speaking out about what I know, but I don't even know what I know at that time. Which links back to my brother and all the things he did in childhood. But I dissolved the company with Mike Huntley, who tried to steal it from me with Bob Sandler. I was starting to find out that I had worldwide campaigns to hunt me down and kill me, create paranoid schizophrenia, try to make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo, linking back to my brother telling me that he and his friends were going to put me in a mental institution, hence Mike Huntley, originally my brother's friend. So at this point, I'm walking around. Signet is no longer. I'm walking around dazed and confused, watching worldwide groups try to kill me, with a family and friends who won't tell me specifically what's going on, trying to cover it up and make me look crazy. I start thinking to myself, I want to get into something that's a little less computery and people are interactive with people. Well, I'm getting into photography and doing a lot of photography on different areas. For example, I didn't go straight into studio photography. I started off with the basics. Macro photography, learning lenses, landscape photography, walking around the city, doing photography. And keep in mind, I did take photography back in like 1996 or whatever with Nick, I don't remember Nick's last name, but Nick's class. But I didn't really pursue it. And back then, it was film photography. But after I was 29 was the beginning of digital photography, which was a lot easier because you don't need things like dark rooms or development costs, right? So I started off very simple with a cheap consumer camera, non-SLR, and just went out taking pictures, learning. I progressed with a Canon 10D, practicing with different lenses and going out, doing candids or telephoto or landscapes. And then eventually, I realized I did some experiments with green screen and my camera, and I decided I wanted to take a try at studio photography, right? Now in this time frame was the beginning of websites like One Model Place or Model Mayhem, which was involved in a mass mobbing with Aubrey Fisher to working with the government and Rody Morales to exterminate me or rid me of the world. And what that meant was that these websites even the playing field for people who want to get into photography where there's no middle ground. For example, in the day of photography, and this is with most businesses, you learn, you become an apprentice, and then you work for a company like Vogue, and all of a sudden you're some famous photographer, right? Taking out the competition level for all the others who are in the middle or don't know people to get started in photography and learn on their own. And that also applies to a lot of things with the internet, like the porn industry. Back in the day, there were the few leaders, like Vivid and Wicked, and then everyone else was nobodies. but now everyone's doing it on their own and putting it on Pornhub or whatever. Some random good-looking girl just goes out, gets a cheap camera, she's a porn star, right? Well, I'm not going to go into the discussion of what defines a real professional photographer and what defines a real professional porn star versus someone who's just making some money and doesn't have that kind of talent or experience, whatever. That's for a debate based on quality and not right and wrong. And so I go out, I learn green screen in my photography and computer compositing. I start posting ads on One Model Place for looking to work with someone for a photo shoot for TFP. And what TFP means is time for print. And what that means is you have a website full of, let's say, a million photographers, models, makeup artists, or anyone in that community that wants to be part of it. The amateur model who doesn't work for some big name versus the amateur photographer who goes out and buys a camera and wants to learn will exchange services for free, right? The model's not asking for money, the makeup artist isn't asking for money, nor is the photographer, so that they can all get together, create work, boast their portfolio, build content for their portfolio without investing money because they're not some big famous name that nobody's going to pay anyways, right? Now, everyone was and still is doing this, but they're only mad at one person for doing it, trying to make it look like I'm a con artist. And that is Kevin Pearlman, and that all stems from Ron Perlman paying off Lorena Escobar, Rodi Morales, Aubrey Fisher, and all these people to sabotage me from getting into studio photography based on a family that doesn't want their child to associate with photos of good-looking women because he's an orthopedic surgeon and wants to make it look like he's a good person, if you get my drift, right? So you have to understand the reasonings and the motives, okay? Because Kevin Pearlman, have done nothing different than anyone else, okay? I got into studio photography, created some cool different work that a lot of people couldn't do, and I'm not going to tell you it's the best work out there or anything, but it was unique, okay? Kevin Pearlman, was building adult websites, and nobody could give a flying fuck on this planet except when Kevin Pearlman does it, right? Kevin Pearlman was playing pool with other pool players, not even playing for money. Nobody on the planet could care less except when Kevin Pearlman does it. Kevin Pearlman loved coffee shops, to be social at coffee shops, to get work done at coffee shops. Nobody could care less about anyone going to coffee shops and doing that unless it's Kevin Pearlman, which all comes down to a family that doesn't want Kevin Pearlman doing these things based on their 1920s beliefs, right? So when we're talking about right and wrong or Kevin doing anything wrong, there's nothing wrong or different that I've done. The only thing that has happened is that someone is mad that Kevin Pearlman got into building adult websites, got into studio photography, hung out at coffee shops, And those people all start with my family, and in order to sabotage and control, they have to make up the lies, just like I kissed a black girl at 8 years old, and therefore I'm a white supremacist. Why? Because if you tell everyone someone they see is open to all races and cultures is a white supremacist, you eliminate the possibility for them to associate with other races and cultures because you've poisoned the well, right? So that applies to all these things. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the African American or black people, black community, targeting me because they are told that I'm a white supremacist. So as I'm getting into studio photography, a girl named Ariana contacts me on Facebook. Oh, no, sorry. This was before Facebook. Contacts me on MySpace. This is around the same time Aubrey Fisher was working on me, getting into studio photography, copying me so that she could sabotage me, working with Tom Farley and my family and the government and Rody Morales. So Aubrey Fisher So Ariana, I think this was after Aubrey Fisher started to get really nasty with me, claiming that I ruined her life by tapping my foot by her because she wanted me to help her with her photography, but the real reason was to destroy my life and sabotage me with the police and government, and try to figure out how to remove me from society. But I'm going to skip Aubrey for now, and I'm going to stick with Ariana, even though Aubrey came before Ariana on MySpace, and Aubrey was working with Ariana, who she helped send Ariana after me. But Ariana was a black girl on MySpace who followed my account, and told me she wanted me to do a photo shoot with her. And I was just getting started with studio, and so I say sure, and of course I'm nervous back then because not only am I watching a worldwide campaign of people trying to kill me, which I don't really understand what is going on, but Ariana, this black girl, comes in my life once again trying to frame me, cry wolf, set me up, you name it. And she says, Kevin, I want you to take my picture and do a photo shoot. So we do a photo shoot on green screen, and back then I didn't even have proper lighting, and I had some cheesy green cloth and this and that, and I was just winging it. But this is some random girl off MySpace, not some pro shoot for Vogue magazine, so who the fuck cares, right? And my family will probably make up some excuse that these are reckless behaviors and this and that, whatever. If that's a reckless behavior, then taking a girl home to sleep with her is a reckless behavior. And that outs any type of dating or sex life, if that's the case, right? And so Ariana, I do the photo shoot with Ariana. I think I do several different things, right? I do one outfit, she brings us pink, and I do a matching pink background. One outfit, she is jeans and a white shirt, so I is jeans and a white shirt, so I do some weird jeans and a blue and white backdrop with a weird CG hosey thing. I did one of her in like a hell environment, and the big one that they used against me was the picture of her on a chessboard. So a black girl in a pink dress on a chessboard, right? Now if that is the end all be all of harmless, or I should say if that isn't the end all be all of harmless, then I don't know what is, right? So you have a black girl on a chessboard. Okay, so there's no derogatory statements. There's no messages of me chopping her head off and stabbing her 100,000 times or this or that. There's no text references saying all black people should die or anything, right? But yet, once I create this picture, they collect the picture and say, see, look, Kevin's playing games with black women's lives. Except this game thing didn't start there. It started with my family at a young age, which I think I talked about in yesterday's video, with how Kevin plays games with people's lives. So, and this is also right after Mike Huntley with their game hints in our office that he's going to play World of Warcraft with my life. Him and Bob Sandler are going to play World of Warcraft with my life. So you can see that the whole game theme comes way before the chessboard picture, right? Now, after the photo shoot, remember, we got a black girl wants to do a photo shoot with Kevin Perlman. We do the photo shoot. After this, she wants to go to P.F. Chang's, get some food. Remember, this isn't a professional model shoot, right? This is a girl I met off MySpace, wanted a photo shoot done, not for money, and wanted to get some food after that. So the context of the situation isn't that I'm in Kevin Perlman's studio charging prices and taking women out on dates. The girl contacted me. She wanted to do a photo shoot. She then wanted to go to P.F. Chang's and get some food. And when we went to P.F. Chang's, I was met with all sorts of kind of interrogating questions based on information that they were collecting about my private life, right? And so, needless to say, nothing really happened. I didn't do anything to her. I didn't say anything mean. I just did the photo shoot. It was kind of over. She was on my MySpace. She started exerting the belittling psychological warfare tactics after she couldn't get the information she wanted to use against me. I then blocked her. Then after that, people were told that I somehow did something wrong to her because I have a picture of her on the chessboard. And therefore, once again, just like the Tyson picture, Kevin Perlman hates black people and needs to die. Right? Hence why Jada Fire was following me to Starbucks and Coffee Bean, a black porn star. Hence Vanessa Blue, a black porn star. Hence why all the black employees at every coffee shop and Starbucks worldwide were told to set me up or try to set me up and frame me, working off this picture. Now, if you want to take this one step deeper, why did she want to go to P.F. Chang's? Well, you have a black girl wants to do a photo shoot who has already been told that Kevin's a black person who is a woman beater, and he beats up women, especially Asians, because he's just like Mike Tyson in his picture, beating up the game character Katana, right? That is why she wanted to go to P.F. Chang's, to try to guilt me into some kind of confession or false confession, to get dirt on me to use to help rile up the world and black community against me to have me hunted and killed. Okay? That is why. Okay, so I cut all ties with this person after I see these abusive behaviors, but then it switches from that, not only the I'm a woman beater with Tom Farley and everyone else worldwide, from this Tyson picture that wasn't public, but then it's because there's a picture of a black girl on a chessboard. Kevin's a wife beater, a woman beater who hates black women and plays games with their lives and tries to kill them, and this and that, right? Now, if you're listening to what I'm saying here, going from thing to thing, every single one of these things, nothing has happened. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's just random art. It's the same art that the world sees every day from person to person, but when Kevin Perlman does it, Kevin Perlman is hunted by the psychology community with lame theories that don't exist. And these theories with the psychology community keep changing to newer and newer things. First it's a nervous problem, then it's an anxiety problem, then it's a paranoia problem, then it's a paranoid schizo, then it's a violent paranoid schizo, then it's a McCarthy, then it's I'm a racist, right? You understand what I'm saying? Nobody walks around with their psychological labels changing every day to different audiences unless their goal is to piss people off and have them attack you, right? They're disseminating lies to rile up communities, to hunt me down and kill me for whatever reason, which starts as control, and then it turns into Kevin found out, so now we gotta kill him or tell him with the endless death threats that you don't say anything or we kill you, right? For what I know. Okay, so now why are the police and government supporting it? Those are very good questions, right? Because the police and government don't normally support things like this. Yeah, sure, my family could have paid off police officers, but eventually one of them's going to say this is unacceptable and stop it, right? So, so these are important questions. So, you know, you get the idea, right? It's kind of like they'll do anything to keep me quiet, including kill me. Okay, so now we have the chess. They have a new way of smearing my name with a chessboard. And hold on, sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts because there's just so much. But okay, so there's the Ariana, and then there's the I went into the Tia Mache, also working on me in the photography community. And then let's see, I went into the thousands of black employees. The thousands of black employees in the coffee shops. The black employees following me to coffee shops. The black, not just black employees, but also people in the black community. Oh, that's right. Okay. So now, aside from, keep in mind what I'm telling you is endless and goes from place to place and coffee shop to coffee shop. I'll give you one example, which I think I mentioned earlier. The Starbucks on Victory. The Starbucks on Victory and the Starbucks on Canoga and Victory. Just one of the endless coffee shops I've been to, told to end my existence. The black employees, the Persian employees, mass groups coming in, whistling at me over and threatening my life and saying that you're a whistleblower and you better not talk. Things like that. One of the incidences, for a while, they had large groups of black people coming in to the Starbucks and sitting there in their cars watching me. Things like this over and over, which obviously switches from races and cultures because they just want to work on me with every person on the planet, shifting from thing to thing. And if you try to be nice or talk to them or walk by them, they belittle you. They work on the little innuendos that you think you're a black person, all sorts of shit like that, right? But it's just constant, never ending with mass groups, right? And the black employees, along with the other employees, will sit there working on you at the back counter while you're trying to concentrate or get things done, using the artwork as excuses as if I wronged them somehow. But back to my original conversations and yesterday's conversations, is that people generally don't look at random artwork with nothing derogatory in them and then hunt you down and try to kill you over it, right? For example, if I were to paint a picture of a coffee cup and walk into a coffee shop, the coffee shop people worldwide would say that I've offended every person in the world in coffee shops because I painted a picture of a coffee cup, right? Doesn't make any sense. Well, that's the same thing with a black girl on a chessboard or Mike Tyson fighting a game character. There's nothing derogatory in the picture, so there's no reason anyone would get mad unless they're some kind of nut job, right? And if a nut job gets mad, so be it. Usually when a nut job gets mad, the world doesn't help. The nut job just gets mad and they do something crazy like pick up a hatchet and fucking try to put it in you, right? But to have worldwide support under inanimate pictures with no specific message in it other than Mike Tyson fighting a game character, a girl on a chessboard, a black girl on a chessboard, but also they're mad at me for things with that you can't pull any type of message out of, like, for example, I did a photo shoot of a white girl with blue and yellow blocks flying out of the wall, which there's no way you could pull something negative out of that, and they got mad over that one, right? So that shows that it's not racial by nature. They're just making up excuses to justify hunting me and killing me, right? And as I've talked about, these excuses go all the way back to 5 years old, but I brought in the kissing the black girl at 8, showing you how far back this goes. Okay, so this black group at this Starbucks in Victory and Canoga, one day I'm riding home and on my bicycle, and they follow me, yelling and harassing me, and then they start egging me with eggs. And as I explained before, the eggs go back to around the same time period of kissing the black girl at Sunny Skies Day Camp, or T1, right? With the fertilized egg. But then after that, when I'm in middle school around 8th grade, Tom Farley is told to egg mob Eric Johnson, which he would call Grunion runs. So what they were doing was, I'm in Sunny Skies Day Camp, or I'm in T1. They crack the egg. A little bloody chicken comes out of an egg. Then, when I'm about 12 years old, Tom Farley is told about these things. Why would Tom Farley be told about these things? Well, that's a good question. Because he would have no knowledge of this because I never told him it. So then Tom Farley goes on their runs, which they're big on these runs and accusing me of being on the run. And Tom Farley, who keeps bullying Eric Johnson, which also relates to Jim Johnson in the Mike Tyson picture, and working together with these paranoid schizo tactics. Tom Farley is told to hide a bunch of eggs in the bushes, and when we get off the bus, Tom tells everyone to grab eggs and egg mob Eric Johnson. And then Tom takes it one step more, and he runs after Eric Johnson, and this was by Ben Stein's house, and he hits Eric Johnson in the back of the head, and one of the neighbors by Ben Stein's house sees it and yells something, and everyone scatters, whatever. Okay, now while I agree it totally sucks for Eric Johnson to be bullied that way, what does it have to do with me, right? That's the question. What does it have to do with Kevin Perlman? Now, aside from I was there and some of the pure pressure sure made me pick up an egg and throw it in his direction, not coming close. Yeah, okay, you got me on that one. I was pure pressured into a bunch of stupid kids doing some stupid things, but the ringleader was Tom Farley with the anger and the rage and the motive, and he was doing it not because he didn't like Eric Johnson, but because they were strategically hunting me down because they wanted to pin these things on me, right? Come my brother a couple years later, he does all his road rage things, and he calls them runs as well, and pins them all on me, and then they start making the movie Training Day, which a lot of it's based, some parallels are based out of my life and what my brother kind of did to me in a different way, kind of making me like Hoyt, except I'm not a cop, right? Which was a movie Rhodey wanted me to see, and strippers kept hinting about to trigger me into a state of paranoia. Okay, so you have Tom Farley staging this thing to pin on me with Eric Johnson, egg mobbing him, hence me riding my bicycle home. For some reason, the black community eggs me, right? With their endless 30 years of previous all-day and night 24/7 attacks worldwide, trying to make me think that I'm Tom Farley and I'm a horrible person and this and that. But now let's break it down. So we have Tom Farley using the fact that when I was kissed a black girl in T1 where he never was because he was moved, he wasn't moved back a grade and I was. So how does he have this egg information? Then going out and egging Eric Johnson, working with teachers like Jim Johnson at University of Colorado. Okay, well, how's Jim Johnson, a professor at University of Colorado, getting information about 20 years prior in California, in Mulholland, right? Okay, now you have the Eric Johnson, who isn't black, he's white. Not that I'm not saying it's okay to egg mob anyone, but what I am saying is it's not a racial issue, but yet the black community is saying Eric Johnson is somehow black, so everyone go after Kevin, right? Doesn't make any sense other than they're just doing it to skull fuck me to death. And all these things are, we're going to pin these things on Kevin Perlman to rid him of the world, right? And so, you know, that's just one of these endless incidences with the black community. And so, I'm getting a little tired, so I'm going to pause this right now and gather my thoughts because I've been talking for a while and I need to rest my brain for a few and figure out where I am in the timeline of we're going to hunt down and kill Kevin with worldwide support for no reason, and tell the world every lie known to man, while every person known to man says you don't tell anyone none of it's true or we kill you. So I'll be right back. So I'm back, and well, as you can see, I got a new cheapo LED light, which seems to work pretty good. I guess you could say, theoretically, I'm lit. And where does I'm lit come from? Well, it comes from when I used to go to Coffee Bean on Coffee Bean on Topanga, Topanga Shopping Center on Ventura and Ventura Boulevard and Topanga Canyon. I used to go to that Coffee Bean a lot. One of the worldwide places they didn't want me going. Just hold on a second. Okay, so I'm lit comes from Topanga Canyon, Ventura Boulevard, Coffee Bean, who is one of the locations, I mean it's every location in the world, but this location worked on every angle saying I was masturbating in their bathroom. Ironically, Starbucks claims that too. Also Coffee Bean on Corbin and Ventura claims that I'm masturbating in their bathroom, yet nobody wants to address the issue of if Kevin Perlman was masturbating in the bathroom, how would they even know that? Because unless they have like spy cams in their bathroom, how would you possibly know that? And let's say someone did go in the bathroom and wank, whatever, who would care anyways? But my point is that they're just pulling shit out of their ass, one thing sequentially after the next, my entire life, stranger after stranger, worldwide, to justify ridding me of the world. Lit comes from when I was at that location, them having this fake wannabe drug dealer guy who would sit and follow me wherever I go at this location, trying to sort of befriend me and trying to like get me to be some kind of cheeseball drug dealer, when okay, first of all, this is California and marijuana just got fully legalized, but before that, for the last 8 years or something, marijuana has been medicinally legal, meaning that any yabo can go to these marijuana doctors or whatever and say, I suffer from anxiety, so therefore I want a marijuana card, and everyone gets one for like $30, right? I mean, and that was before it was fully legal, and that's because it's just a gateway. It was a gateway into legalization because the concept of marijuana being illegal is so absurd, just like making alcohol illegal, like prohibition. Needless to say, there are a lot of perfect squares that won't agree with that, who have never tried it and think it's like crack or whatever, but that's for debate, and it's not even debatable because it's fully illegal in California now, right? And it's also fully legal in 18 other states, and it just got fully legalized in Canada, meaning that there's no stopping legalizing marijuana fully, and everyone looking back and laughing and going, wow, people actually went to jail as drug dealers for what? Now everyone is free to grow at home or whatever, right? Needless to say, the cops were having this guy befriend me who was supposedly some homeless drug dealer, and he's talking about selling marijuana on the streets and this and that, which is absurd, because why would anyone buy some street shit when they walk into a medicinal or into a dispensary and for 25 bucks or whatever, or not even, like 20 bucks an eighth probably, or something like that, get some marijuana, and some good grade marijuana. It's grown with a little quality control, right? So the whole thing was a scam to begin with, but it also links to the guy 10 years prior, Rody Morales, sent into my life to try to plant a trash bag full of marijuana before it was legal and get it in my house to try to arrest me, set me up as a drug dealer with the LAPD, which everyone is mad about because it didn't work, hinting that I'm somehow a bad person for finding out, not even really telling anyone, until it got so bad of people walking around saying you're a whistleblower and a snitch, that I started saying, wait, something's wrong here, because I haven't said anything, and people are running around saying I'm a snitch and I'm dead. So now I'm going to tell people, because if I'm dead to begin with for not even knowing what's going on, then I might as well just tell the world that I'm being hunted by the LAPD psychology community family to lock me away out of hate and rage towards me, with these elaborate setup attempts and frame jobs. So at one point, this guy, he just kept harassing me with these mass groups, right? With their cars parked backwards, thousands of people per hour, the same old thing, and I was leaving and I flashed my brights on him, right? Now, after that, cars worldwide, wherever I go, they sit around waiting for me with lights on, and people on the internet say, they use the terminology that comes from me saying I'm lit, right? But this also applies to something else, which I didn't think about at the time. It applies to when I was about 14, my brother was 16 with his friends, and they were driving around with a big old strobe light, and they were flashing security guards and getting the security guards to chase them. Now, for some strange reason, like everything else, the security companies have been hunting me my entire life, saying that I'm making them hunt me down, right? Which doesn't make any sense, like the rest of the people. So, based on what I've told you in this video alone and all the other ones, for example, before I was talking about being egged because Tom Farley egg mobbed Eric Johnson, being pinned on me, right? And 1,000 other things like that similar, where I'm being hunted by mass groups for things that other people did, means that they're going out and doing things with the premeditated thought process to pin on me. And what's even scarier is my family's telling them to do it, and the police are telling them to do it, to just rile the world against me, to have me killed, rid of the world. So, from that, with that information, you can derive that not only was my brother going out with these strobe lights, flashing the security guards to get them to chase them, but most likely, and I'm pretty sure 100% that the security guards knew exactly what was going on at the time, and they were told, Jason Perlman and friends are going to go do these things and just play along and then hunt down and kill Kevin Perlman, pretending that it was Kevin Perlman, right? And they got me to go along with them once. Of course, I didn't know they were going to follow security guards around and flash them. So you're in a car and they just do what they do, which isn't really crime. It's more kids being pranks anyways. But if you want to put things in perspective, I was joking around with my brother and friends at 14, and I think it was in the back of a CRX or something, and they put me in like the little trunky area, not like a closed trunk like you would, like a hatchback trunk area where there's windows and this, and I think it was Andy or my brother, or one of their friends were like swerving the car back and forth, kind of throwing me back and forth in the back. And I'm not going to say that was a crime or anything that spaz out, but I'm just giving you the context of the situation is that Kevin is out living his life, and he's with his brother's friends, and his brother's friends go around and they start flashing security guards, and Kevin is off not in a mean-spirited way causing problems. Kevin is the guy who's mouthing off to his brother and friends in a sarcastic, joking way, and they put him in the back of the hatchback and start shaking me around or whatever, and it's not some kind of traumatic event or anything like that, but it just shows you that I'm kind of like this fun-loving guy joking around, and I'm not the one actively saying, let's go out, get strobe lights, flash security guards, do this or that, blah, 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 right? So, so that's where I'm lit comes from, right? Things being pinned on me, and then them sort of reinforcing the lies, waiting 30 years to go, look, he flashed someone with his bright, so therefore we're going to apply this one event to my brothers and friends' events so that we can pin it on him. And now there's worldwide groups saying I'm lit on the internet, or using their lights all together against me to try to like guilt me to death with the rest of the things, right? The things that don't really make much sense. So anyways, I stopped off, I got coffee for about an hour, a random stop, wasn't planning to go anywhere, went to an old location that hadn't been in years, and if I were to put a number on the harassments from like usual going in to this coffee shop, I would say about 15 verbal harassments, indirect verbal harassments. Walk in, the employee that I'm buying the coffee from says, hey, 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 and they do things in threes, like I was saying earlier, and then of course the hey refers to a waitress at Yankee Doodles that was sent after me named Heather, who was stalking me at different locations and following me to the Encino Starbucks I mentioned in one of my last videos, claiming that saying hey is a crime, and trying to set me up and frame me, working with these mass groups and police and government. Oh, and she was also working with psychiatrist Alex Lazar, right? And these setup and cover-up operations. Off the top of my head, there were, I think, about 3 people wearing solid black pants and solid red shirts. There were 2 women wearing blue jeans and red shirts. There was one guy who said, he said no worries, and then he said no worries twice to someone in front of me, and I were like, no worries, no worries. And they started saying no worries after I said no worries to someone at the Starbucks where I was egg mobbed, right? And they started mimicking that worldwide. The employee said okay twice. I handed one guy a card, and he said I have one. Right? And these pattern behaviors. Oh, a girl said in front of me on her laptop while on the phone, I'm trying twice. So when I'm talking about these random strangers I've never seen before doing cryptic, passive-aggressive, systematic, coordinated psychological warfare attacks, you can see that me walking in a room for an hour, and I've just listed the ones off the top of my head, which go on all day and night, 24/7, worldwide, are obviously designed for a reason, and by the psychology community. They are designed to passively, aggressively torture me into a response to lock me away, throw me in jail, or kill me, right? But they will never admit it. They will just say, with every person on the planet, nobody knows you, you're imagining it, you think differently, you can't relate to people, and yeah, you're right. I can't relate to mass groups trying to psychologically exterminate me and then say, I don't know you, right? I mean, they are exactly right there, but that's not my fault. That is the fault of the people saying we're going to hunt down and kill this guy and not thinking it's wrong. And that all starts at 29, met with Mike Huntley's death threats. Working with Rody Morales, the LAPD, the psychology community, and my family. So that brings up all sorts of serious questions about my family, what the problem is, why they've been hunting me since 5 years old, you name it. But I can assure you it's not out of concern. That's like me saying I'm going to follow you around and carve you up with a knife because I want you to have a good life. Okay, so I was talking about we were starting off with the black community, the 8-year-old kiss, and how I was accused of being a white supremacist and anger and rage for kissing a black girl, right? That's what we're talking about. And I was talking about the progression up until Ariana, and around 2004 or 5 on MySpace, the black model. Then the black porn stars following me to coffee shops, trying to set me up or frame me. And then from there, I'm now going to jump. And trust me when I say from like 2004, whatever, from finding out at 2000, 2001 till now, 2018, it has been endless people, especially black communities, trying to silence me. Whether it's going to lawyers, to get defense attorneys, to these mass extermination campaigns with the police, or you name it, end up in all sorts of conversations, threats, or this or that. How I'm a bad person for finding out, and I better not tell anyone. Or even conversations with black people who follow me to lawyers' offices, saying that, you know, some people are very nice, but they don't like black people, trying to hint that I'm a really nice person, but I don't like black people. I think my statement back to him was, well, you know, it's irrelevant if people don't like black people, because if they're really good people and they don't like black people, they have the right to believe whatever they want, provided they're not out doing anything wrong. And there are people out there that don't like black people or Jewish people or other cultures, like Tom Farley used to say, this guy tried to Jew me and I'm Jewish, and I always took it as, oh, whatever, the guy is just using slang and who cares, it doesn't really offend me. And even if Tom Farley really did hate Jewish people, I couldn't care less, unless the guy's hunting me down trying to kill me. Then I got a problem, right? So my point is that people are allowed to believe and do whatever they want to do, provided it's not illegal and they're not hurting anyone, right? And so if someone's sitting there and they go, I don't like black people, and they keep it to themselves and they're friendly and nice, well, they have that right, you know? They have that right. And so I, on the other hand, have no problem with black people or any other culture. I only have a problem with individuals who hunt me down and try to kill me or do harmful things to me. And if it's one person or an entire group, I have a problem with them. Okay? I don't like pain. I don't like to be hurt. I don't like my life being destroyed. I don't like being killed. Right? And so it doesn't matter it doesn't matter your beliefs. It matters what you do. And actions speak louder than words. And so I am now going to jump so that you understand between this time period of Ariana, the black model that I did a picture of a chessboard. I did a whole bunch of pictures with her, but the her on the chessboard is being used as a weapon against me, as somehow I've wronged her and the black community. And like I said before, there is absolutely nothing derogatory in there, showing that they have something to hide. And now I'm going to skip to about 2014, maybe 15, at my father's office, Golden State Sports Medical. And what I want to talk about is the dynamics between the black community and what my father was doing to me at his office. So, and there's so much information that it's probably going to be way later when I talk about Golden State Sports Medical and what my father was doing to me with Lorena Escobar and endless other people. But this will kind of give you a taster so that when I get there, you'll understand it. Okay, so I think I mentioned earlier that around 2004, 5 or something, my father contacted Lorena, his office manager, and said, I want you to talk to Kevin and see if he wants to work for us doing IT. And little did I know what I was getting into, that my father was looking for a way to sort of finish the job that he started, to exterminate me or rid me of the world, with his mentality of keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, right? And I mentioned the dynamics between him working with Tom Farley my entire life, collecting and telling him what to do, things to do to me, while Tom was pretending to be my friend for 30 years while hunting me down and trying to remove me from society. And so not knowing that, I knew something was wrong. I was met with Mike's death threats at around 2001. Mike Huntley said something to me like, well, you should go talk to your father. Me not knowing what that meant, not realizing that this was all coming down from my family. All I was seeing was worldwide groups try to kill me. And when you turn 29, you notice something's very wrong with your life. You notice everywhere you go, people are beyond angry and enraged, want you dead. You start noticing things that you were never looking for, like everywhere you're going, people knowing you but not saying anything directly, but maybe their facial expressions or how you're treated, like at the DMV in '98 and things like that. And you're sort of thinking, you're not sure, because you're not able to process the situation because nothing's directly said, but you're thinking something's very strange. And you're also looking at strippers' reactions, like a stripper at foreplay like Bentley saying, you'll get yours. You're noticing strippers pretend like you somehow offended them when you sit down next to them and maybe you say some witty joke that's not mean or anything, and they get up and they run in the back room, right, pretending they're scared, and you're not sure what you said because you didn't do anything wrong, but you're thinking, well, maybe there was some kind of miscommunication, and it's just the dynamics weren't right with that person, not thinking that they're part of a worldwide extermination campaign, right? And you're starting to fall into a state of paranoia, saying something doesn't seem right. But the problem was that some of the things were very wrong. And normally, when that happens, people do from time to time fall into minor states of paranoia or think that something isn't right, especially when something isn't right. And so, in my case, the people around me didn't react like friends would. For example, my friend, or so-called friend, Paul Humphrey, at one point fell into a state of paranoia. He went down to Bakersfield. He was into some weird crap or something, and he thought the police were after him or this or that. Let me think. And my reaction wasn't like, oh, you're paranoid, you must have done something wrong, we're gonna hunt you and kill you, right? My reaction was very civil and friendly, and what's wrong, what's going on, tell me, talk to me, the things that they didn't do to me, right? So I'm sitting, like, I didn't sit there and go, oh, Paul, you're paranoid, so that means you're a danger to me and others, and you're a danger to yourself, and you need to be locked away in mental institutions. My reaction was, Paul, what's going on? And sure, granted, at one point, Paul said, don't tell anyone about this, and I sort of had a big mouth on that incident, and I told Mike Huntley, thinking that Mike Huntley was a friend, and of course, Mike Huntley was sort of using it as a profiling tactic, like, well, because you violated your friend's confidentiality, therefore you committed a crime and you're going to be hunted with worldwide support, right? Well, I think we can all admit here that most people that try to be good people, or people that are human, sometimes talk too much, and other times they do what they're supposed to do, and that's just human nature, right? I mean, I think we've all been in the situation where we've said something stupid or made jackasses out of ourselves or this or that. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means, and sometimes you just, you do things you shouldn't, which aren't crimes, and it's up to people with communication skills to communicate so that we're all good people. Example, Kevin, you shouldn't really say that about this person or that, or blah, blah, blah. He's your friend, blah, blah. Because, like, one of the things Mike Huntley was so mad about is Paul Humphrey drove me fucking insane because he was just so, he could be so annoying. And the thing of it was that I find out that Paul was actually doing it intentionally to try to get reactions and fuel the fire, so to speak, to set me up to use against me on things that most people normally don't care about, if you get my drift, right? I mean, hey, you had a friend and you talked some shit behind his back. Okay, yeah, I admit it. I had a friend and I talked shit about one of my... Okay, the LED light from hell. Okay, so, I got cut off. My SD card filled up, and I was just blah, blah, blah. And luckily, my sound was off to warn me that the camera shut off, so luckily I didn't go too far into it. You'll never get those thoughts back that I was regurgitating. So what I was talking about was, for example, I was bad-mouthing Paul to one person, Mike Huntley, who then keeps blasting out to the world that I'm a horrible monster for bad-mouthing my friend. And I'm not going to say that if you have a friend, you really shouldn't be unloading your anxiety onto your other friend, but if your other friend is your true friend, he's going to communicate with you and say, look, Kevin, you're friends with Paul. This is Mike Huntley, by the way. You're friends with Paul, and you shouldn't be talking shit about him. And I'd probably say, you're fucking right. I shouldn't be talking shit about Paul. He drives me fucking crazy. And then he would probably say, it doesn't sound like a healthy friendship, right? And that's how friends operate. Not, Kevin, you badmouth your friend, you stabbed him in the back, you're two-faced, horrible monster, need to be hunted and killed, with worldwide support for the two-faced crime, right? I mean, that's something that every single person does. I mean, every single person, especially women. Women are really bad at that shit. But my point is that we don't learn by being accused of capital crimes for things that don't really matter. We learn in life by people with communication skills, right? And that's what that's how we learn, right? And so, while Mike Huntley tries to make this out that I'm a horrible monster, need to be hunted, killed, and die for the two-faced backstab crime of talking about one of my friends behind my back because he's so obnoxious and just drove me insane, doesn't make any sense. And the only reason that would be is because he had motives, and ulterior motives and agendas to befriend me and destroy my life. And some of his statements to me when I was 29, trying to figure out what the hell was going on with worldwide operations to rid me of the world, was him telling me that, I can't remember the exact wording, obviously. This is 20 years ago or something, 17 years ago. But, I said, what the hell's going on? And he said something like to me, he quoted a line from the movie Crocodile Dundee, and he said, when Wally or Donk has a problem, we tell Wally, and Wally tells the town, and no more problem. And what Mike meant by that was that he was collecting whatever he could to use against me and disseminating it worldwide, right? So it's a smear campaign, right? Every small hiccup, the tiniest things are being collected and disseminated worldwide to use against me, riling up the world against me. Kevin farted wrong, Kevin blinked wrong, Kevin yawned wrong, Kevin when he was having sex with a girl, he farted, and that's rude, and you don't treat women that way, and he needs to be hunted, and he needs to be killed for his crimes, and we're never going to stop because he knows what he did, right? None of it makes any sense, right? All the things I'm telling you are things that aren't done to people, right? If Mike Huntley had a problem with me, he should have said, I have a problem with you. So why did the guy invest 25 years of his life befriending me and introducing me to Melody, the stripper, who I supposedly probably cut her brake lines, and I'm being hunted for some strange reason for simply bouncing at two bachelor parties, right? As if anyone could remotely care less, right? Well, the reason is that, like I said in my other videos, in order to stop me from being the person I want to be, or who, more importantly, who my family, the life my family wants to dictate, they will hand me the cookies, so to speak, and then once you bite into the cookies, say, you stole the cookie from the cookie jar, you're not allowed to eat cookies, eating cookies is illegal, we're going to hunt you down and kill you for your crime, and at that point, you're pretty much deer in headlights going, eating cookies isn't a crime, what the hell are you talking about? Everyone eats cookies. Why can everyone eat cookies but me, right? And so that's where things really get strange, but it's not about right or wrong or crimes. It's about a family saying, you do what we say or we'll kill you, except the problem is, it isn't just family that you can walk away from. It is the LAPD, police, NSA, FBI, you name it, because their accusations tend to be accusations of criminal nature or such things that piss people off in order to poison the well or sabotage my life. Example, 8 years old, I kiss a black girl, he's full of anger, rage, he's a white supremacist, and her life is in danger, right? Hence, starting things like investigations that change on a weekly basis, while my entire life I'm pretty much told or hinted that I'm under investigation. Why? Because if a family runs around having people tell you you're under investigation your entire life, you're going to have to try to live a perfect life, right? You better not fuck up. And that is exactly what Mike Huntley said to me. Rody Morales comes in my life, the fourth person from 20 to 30, and he says, let's go to strip clubs. Okay, so I understand that the average father with kids or whatever probably doesn't want to go to strip clubs or tell his friends about that. But single guys don't really have a problem with it unless they're trying to date upper class women or whatever, you know, where they're into their little prissy things. My point is that it's not really wrong, and it's not really anything anyone cares about unless you're associating with social groups that are complete opposite of the spectrum, right? Okay, you have your Tea Party crowd or whatever they enjoy doing, and they're probably not going to understand things like sexually open women. But then you have your, for example, people that are swingers or whatever, and they're completely going to understand, right? So that's where we get into social groups, social environments, cliques, and this and that. But what's happening in my life is that every single person is turned against me. The people that normally would say, well, so what? For example, strippers would normally say, so what, Kevin went to strip clubs, so who the fuck cares, right? Or porn stars or this, or women with good sexual appetites that are good looking would probably say, so what, the guy went to strip clubs, he likes chicks, right? Now, sure, there's those snobby people that can't deal with that, but it's generally not a worldwide group. And then there's the people that don't understand, that would normally say, well, you know, I wouldn't want that lifestyle, but I understand, right? So, but in my life, it's not like that. It's every single person on the planet is pretty much pissed off at me for one reason or the other, which is very strange. And that's probably due to the way the information is being disseminated. Kevin's a car thief, Kevin's this, Kevin's a white supremacist, Kevin's that. And just literally thousands and thousands of lies like this. All in secret. None of them which you can defend yourself and say none of this is true, because what they do is they shut you down immediately and say you're imagining it and nothing's happening and nobody knows you, right? And that is a situation that is unheard of. It has never before happened. I mean, how many people can say that they're known worldwide, they've been accused of thousands of different things, they have a worldwide mob to kill them, and then they're told they're imagining it and they're crazy, right? Unheard of, right? Normally for something like that to happen, it has to hit the news. And if it hits the news is sued for damages, right? That's why it was done in the way it was done. Never before heard of. Okay, so anyways, I've totally veered off the point, which was, what I was getting to was, we were talking about, or I was talking about, the black community, or the things done to me with black people due to the fact that my family was setting the seed, poisoning the well with kissing the black girl, and then I was discussing the progression of these events throughout my entire life, showing that the things they're saying aren't dying out like they normally are. They are being extended systematically from place to place, city to city, state to state, country to country. There are direct lines of communication from people in India to people in California to people in Nevada to people in Russia, with instant communication with internet-based tools, right? Well, what does that mean? It means that when someone is mad at me, they have the terror resources to work with worldwide groups to torture and kill me over anything. Example, Aubrey Fisher didn't like me tapping my foot by her. Instantly the world is notified across the internet for people worldwide to torture and kill me, and tap me to death, so to speak. And then it'll go to the next person. Maybe I go out on a date with a girl and I can't take her abusive personality. I go, you know, you're a bitch and I don't need this. And then the entire planet, literally, will sit there in anger and rage taking turns on me over something that is said every day. I mean, these are things that are done every day, right? I mean, unless you're Mr. Super white collar, super upper class, super conservative, then yeah, everything is going to be perfectly prim and proper. But still, there's going to be moments of imperfection, right? And in my life, they just wait for that imperfection, because I was always a really good person, a kind, giving, generous, polite person, yet at the same time fun-loving. And they were collecting every hiccup, like putting my life under a macro lens or a microscope, collecting every imperfect bump and saying that's equivalent to a capital crime. And so I want to get back now to Lorena and my father hiring me for 14 years, which eventually I'll get to these 14 years of terror operations and a father that wanted to get his son close to him to pretty much kill him, while sitting there pretending it wasn't going on and constantly turning things around on me. Even in the end, him asking me for things like Fernanda Simi's logs while she was in direct contact with the LAPD, trying to set me up with the entire office, and then turning it around on me, making it look like I was abusive. For example, hey Kevin, do we have logs of what she's doing? She's really defensive. And me going, yeah, the firewall logs, all that. Well, can you give me these? Sure. And then he turns it around. You know, you have logs on this person and you're doing abusive things. And no wonder she's defensive or whatever. But of course, he didn't word it that way. He worded it on the phone like, well, you did this, didn't you? Trying to shirk responsibility of him asking me, hey Kevin, will you get me those logs? Sure. And then he'd call me up again saying, well, you got logs of Fernanda, you know, you're giving out logs for Fernanda or something like that, right? Trying to twist and contort the situation like he always does and pin it on me, even though, once again, there's no crime there, right? I mean, if you run a company and have a firewall, firewalls create logs in case something happens. And it's not a crime, just like having security cameras in your company. It's not a crime to have security cameras in your company or firewalls keeping you safe and logging malicious activity. And therefore, even though it's not about right and wrong, my father was like he usually does, trying to make something look like Kevin is shady and a bad person and up to something in order to destroy my reputation and credibility. Yet most people who aren't involved would say, yeah, good for you. You have a firewall in your company, good for you. It logs the activity, good for you. It logs all the IPs, good for you. And some of the things that Lorena and the entire office were doing is like, they were saying that I was blocking them from working when the firewall obviously keeps them safe. And they each had these elaborate claims like, Kevin's not allowing us to work from home. And then I was forced to put in an app that showed that they were logged in through remote desktop working, even though they were making up the lies, they can't log in. And then they would go to the next lie, well, Kevin has our IP address, and so he's stalking us and hacking us and doing all these things, which is the next absurd statement, because everything anyone does in a company or on a firewall, the firewall logs the IP address. For example, they come in through remote desktop port 3389, which I allow them into. The firewall is going to say, we have a connection from this IP address to 3389, right? And what they would do is say, Kevin has our IP addresses, so therefore we need to have worldwide groups hack his computer, which they were doing since 1994 anyways, but trying to make their crimes look justified, if you understand what I'm saying. So Kevin worked for me. Now we're going to try to set you up in these situations where we can feed the world false information to help turn them against you. Yet, there's nothing I did but be a really good person and work my ass off for these people who were hunting me down for 14 years with worldwide support, trying to exterminate me. Anyways, to the point, because I'll go forever on the all day and night 24/7 things done at Golden State Sports Medical to me, which they're trying to cover up, hence my father actually having the police throw me in maximum security prison to try to scare, thug, intimidate me quiet about the things he did to me with his employee, pretty much paying off Lorena Escobar to orchestrate these murder operations. Okay, so one of the x-ray techs, and remember, Lorena Escobar was an x-ray tech, but that really doesn't matter because it goes from person to person working on me. But one of these people who was in my father's office was a black person named Brandon, and the x-ray tech before that was a Persian guy who everyone called G, but I can't remember what his real name was. He would do all sorts of things to me, like walk by every single time and whistle as he walked by for years. Well, my father actually was sat there half the time pretending it wasn't going on, saying, well, people whistle, pretending that he's a moronic idiot and things like that, right? I mean, the point that I had video of all of them working together within like an hour's period, probably like 50 harassments in 1 hour on surveillance video. I tried to show my father, and he had just shirked it all off, knowing that I just want to kill my son, right? It's not because he's absent-minded. It's not because he can't see it. It's because he knew exactly what was going on, and he was telling him to do it and paying him to do it, and to stop the argument of people trying to say, well, why didn't you go anywhere else, and it's your fault for staying, being tortured to death. Well, this was happening worldwide, still is, and all the things I was doing to try to start my own companies to get away from him. His office employees were paid to contact these people worldwide to stop me from walking away from my family, right? And that's the sickest part about it. So you're trying to figure out how to get out of it, get away from him, but they're sabotaging the same thing my family's done to me my whole life, not just women so I couldn't have relationships, but stopping me from making money and stopping me from walking away and making money somewhere else, right? Kind of like hobbling, right? Like if you ever saw the movie Misery, it's kind of like that. So Brandon was a black x-ray tech, and the reason my father chose a black x-ray tech, gee, I wonder, was to continue their Kevin hates black people, and Kevin's a racist, and G was also doing that as well with the Persian community, and there was another chiropractor he had which was also doing it, starting it right when I started working for him. Azim, God, I don't remember his name. It's written on my website. Something Azim or something, who was his chiropractor, and he, like all of them, was in contact with all the people at coffee shops stalking me. And that's the most important thing you need to understand, is that it's not just in an office where these people are abusing you. They're connected worldwide, so maybe one person starts harassing you in the office, and then you go, well, I'm going to work from home, or I'm going to go to a coffee shop and maybe get some work done, and then people start coming in, working their paranoid schizophrenia tactics with these mass groups at public places. So, For example, maybe Brandon will walk by, and every time he walks by, like, Gian keeps whistling at me, right? And then maybe I'll go, and then maybe he'll do some trigger words, like, what's up, bro? I'm just making something up. But what's up, bro? Or something like that. And then you'll go into a random Starbucks, Coffee Bean, Pete's, Fred and Wilma's coffee, whatever. And the first thing the person might say at the counter is, what's up, bro? Right? And then they'll start working on you with the tapping on the counter tactics, or there's thousands of these. And then, as you sit there and work, you'll see mass groups come in, stalking you and torturing you. I mean, literally mass groups. Like, for example, I would go to Barclays in Northridge when I left the office a lot of times and try to relax and get a coffee, then go home. And they have this whole thing like you're not allowed to deviate from going home from the office. You have to go straight home. And so you go to Barclays Coffee. Then what happens is they hire a black guy there. I don't remember his name. They would do these things in patterns, which are still going on. For example, the entire lot, thousands of cars, first would start parking backwards, then parking backwards in 2s and 3s, still going on. Then the same cars, so you might see like 2 black and yellow Civics, 2 red Corvettes, 2 green Starions parking together. Then people would come out in clothing. So let's say you're sitting there trying to relax outside, and you see people walking, and everyone walking, like today. Today I've seen tons, maybe 100 people, especially at Fry's in the local shopping center here, wearing solid black pants and solid red shirts. And so you're sitting there outside trying to relax with a coffee. Maybe you see 100 people show up, solid black pants, solid gray shirt, solid black pants, solid red shirt. They would actually time them too, so maybe the stores that are next to where you're sitting, at like 4:10 p.m., you see 2 women walk out of separate stores, and both wearing solid black pants and solid green shirts, right? And this would happen over and over until it was way beyond any type of coincidence. It was literally, 17 years of this. 17 years. Okay, all day and night, worldwide, just keeps going on. And so, these communications are direct from one person to the next. So you got Brandon in the office, doing everything to get you fired. But remember, it's not just Brandon, it's every single employee. It's 28 employees in that office for 14 years, with thousands of people showing up in parking lots. And then every parking lot you go after that, they're all connected on the planet. Now, 40% cars backwards on almost every parking lot, which before 2011, almost the majority of the cars were all forward, right? So now you understand that this is a worldwide operation, right? It's not a disgruntled employee trying to get you fired. It is worldwide groups since 5 years old. And what's the motive? The motive is to kill you or lock you away in jail or mental institutions. Exactly what the threats of my brother. So the question is, what do they have to hide? Okay, so I have all this crap written down of the specifics. And I can't remember the specifics of Brandon. I think he drove a black 300E Mercedes. Ironically, the car my father put his bullet hole in his car was a blue 300E Mercedes. They would do things like I walk outside the office for a smoke. There would be like 2 black 300Es together, one of them his. I'd go to the coffee shop. The next black guy would work on me with more black people. I would get threats on the internet from people saying subtweets, obviously not directly, because if it's direct I could go to the police, except the police, no matter what I go to them with, won't help me because they're being paid off, and won't help me. So one of the threats was no relaxing for you, nigger, showing that it's reverse racist by nature. You start to see the connection. Now, when my father fired me from his office because his reasoning was on multiple levels, but what ticked him off the most was I basically told him I wasn't going to go out to eat food with him anymore because I got sick of him inviting me out pretending he wanted to see his son while working with employees at every restaurant worldwide, who sit there taking turns on me just like his office, and then go, you're imagining it, you're crazy, so he can get the ultimate reaction to lock me away in jail, saying my son is a crazy split personality person who is a danger to himself or others, to lock me away, right? So, why these people are helping my father, I can't answer that, but they are. And so that's the level of this worldwide extermination operations. Let's see, Brandon. What was Brandon involved? What else? I mean, he spent years. For example, okay, one of the things they did in the office was, remember, I'm the IT, and I built the entire network from scratch. I built every server. I installed every operating system. I knew exactly how the systems worked, every way, shape, or form. I built the firewall. I built something like 13 servers. At one point, they hired someone to screw it. Well, right in the beginning, they hired people to sabotage and screw up the systems. I knew that, but you couldn't tell anyone. I tried to tell my father, but he shirked it off like, yeah, whatever. And a lot of that was him paying Lorena to hire people to do these things to me. So I knew how every nut and bolt in that network worked. And one of the things they did was they rerouted through the ceiling to a separate hub or switch to outside networks of the office. And they were going to other rooms, which obviously I didn't have the resources to trace that. You'd have to actually go through the cabling. But I could trace the information flow that he was bypassing the main switch and he was going out to another office. And when I figured that out and rerouted my desk computer to the main switch, how it should have been, by bypassing the cables, going through the ceiling, that is when my father and Lorena and Brandon flipped out and really went on the defensive. When I figured out that a lot of the hacking and mental illness tactics that they were doing was being done for the sole purpose to try to make me mentally ill by using the computer networks to fuck with me, flip my mind, which was going on right in the beginning. Right in the beginning, when we moved to Northridge, someone was hacking into the network, which Lorena was actually paying them to do, which is why she kept getting mad that I put up a firewall, which doesn't make any sense. And what they would do is they would turn off the network switches on people's computer through the network neighborhood. And if anyone that knows IT and Windows system knows that it is way beyond rare that in the network sharing on Windows, the connection neighborhood, whatever it is, I can't remember the specific term of the window, where it shows the network adapters where you can enable or disable them. It is beyond any level of rare did they get disconnect all by themselves? Well, it was going from strategically to computer and person to person to frame me, right? And it would happen on different computers, on different days, things like that. And it was all strategic, all to do several things, to piss off the employees and turn them against me, as well as screw with my brain and try to make me mentally ill. Except where all that falls apart is that I'm known worldwide, and all these people, no matter what I say, are working on me to try to remove me from society since 5 years old, meaning that they already know that I'm being targeted. They're just playing into it like, oh, Kevin did this to me, crying wolf, if that makes sense. And so that's where things really fall apart, because normally something happens, people get paranoid, you explain the situation, people discuss what the hell's happening. It's not 100% one-sided. And in my case it is, because they all have an agenda and motives. They damn well know that Lorena was paying people to do these things directed at me, and so, which brings up, I almost forgot, a employee they hired named Alita, okay? And I can't believe I almost forgot Alita. When my father and Lorena first hired me, they put me in Denise's office, and this is before he moved to Northridge. He was in a Ventura Boulevard office in Tarzana. He put me in an office with Denise, who was working on me, which was my father's like 20-year secretary, who just wanted me dead for some reason. And I believe that she was involved with him on his lies that I stole $10,000 when I was 16, telling the world I stole $10,000 when I got into building car engines. And so he hired me to work in his office. I worked my ass off for years in the file room, filing files until I bled so that I can afford car parts to work on my Trans Am, which he should have been proud of with the rest of my family, but he got mad because he wanted to control me, saying that I'm out of control before anything happened. So his way to control me is to tell the world that I stole $10,000, where he staged this huge operation with Mike Huntley, saying that Mike Huntley stole his girlfriend's check for $10,000. Alexandra Cohen, a French lady, which there were all sorts of other things going on with her, like my brother and friends pissing and shitting supposedly in her car, convertible car. Although I can't tell you if they really did that. That's just what they told me, and my guess is that they didn't really piss and shit in her car. They wanted me to piss and shit in her car under pure pressure, because all of a sudden my friend Paul Humphrey, who, keep in mind, was originally or is Joe Humphrey's younger brother, who is in my brother's high school class and came into my life stalking me at the same time Mike Huntley did, kept saying he's pissing and shitting in her car in hopes they could get me to piss and shit in her car. And they were doing all sorts of other things to her, pinning and framing it on me. Hence, you starting to understand what's going on. So here's my brother and his friends. They're terrorizing my father's girlfriends. They're framing me like everything else. My father's coming after me with the rest of the world, saying I did all these things, horrible things to her, just like Eric Johnson and the other hundreds to thousands of frame jobs like this. And yet I'm the only one not doing anything, right? And so my father says that Mike Huntley, he comes to me, and he did this with Patty Guggen too in his office. My father comes to me and he says Mike Huntley stole a check from Alexander Cohen for $10,000. My father was also saying that she was going ballistic and mad because he drank her Clearly Canadian or something like this, right? So first you have to understand the context of the situation. There are claims that Mike Huntley is a bad person because he drank a drink out of a refrigerator of hers. Okay, now, I mean, that's pretty goddamn trivial. Okay? But then it goes to a check for $10,000, which later on, when the shit hits the fan, I'm 29, I find out Mike Huntley's saying, well, you better go speak to your father, as if I did something to my father. I believe hinting that I stole his check for $10,000, right? Now, why would my father ask me if Michael Huntley stole a check for $10,000 when I'm not around to see him steal a check, right? How do I know if Mike Huntley stole a check for $10,000 or not? And possibly I could ask him, but he'd probably deny it. But the reason he was telling me that Mike Huntley stole $10,000 was to see what kind of expression I would give him to see if I did it. And how do I know that? I know that for several reasons. Because I found out I've been accused for 17 years of stealing $10,000 from my father. Pineapple Joe, when I was 16, around the same time, was trying to interrogate me to see if I was a moral person and stole $10,000 from my father after he upsold me from the 454 I was building to the blown Hemi, which he claims was sold to him from a drug dealer. Working with Brian Weaver, and all the other things that were going on that I'm not going to talk about here, where they were trying to set me up and frame me and things like that. Why? Because he didn't want me building cars. Now we jump back to like 2015, him saying that Patty Guggen stole medication out of his office, and they have someone on video camera with a hood on that just knows where to go, and him showing me the video as if I would know, saying, do you think that this is Patty Guggen? Like, how the hell would I know if some person in sweats and a hood on stealing a box is Patty Guggen? But yet I thought about it. Well, first let me back up. After this Patty Guggen, my father calls the police. This is the story anyways. My father calls the police on Patty Guggen, and the police show up at her house saying that you stole this medication, or you're under investigation for stealing medication in his office, yada yada yada. And then she quits, and then my father can't understand why she would quit unless she's guilty, right? Well, let me tell you, if you're innocent and the cops show up at the door from your business saying, you stole this, right? You're sure as shit not going to go back to that business whether you're guilty or innocent. Because if you're innocent, you've lost all respect for your boss. And your boss is a danger to you. So if you're innocent, you're sure as shit not going to go back to that company. But after this, people started showing up in coffee shops with hoods on. Right? Following me to coffee shops with hoods on, trying to guilt me to death. And people would wear their hoods for hours inside the coffee shops, making it look obvious, because people don't sit there in coffee shops with hoods on normally. And there were mass groups, and of course the trend from not many people wearing hoods, like the foot tapping, ramped up from, it's very rare you see someone with a hood on, especially inside, to 10 people sitting around you, one sequentially after the next, coming on with hoods on right after your father does this thing with the video to try to make me look like a violent paranoid schizo and get reactions. So these patterns of behaviors that they're doing to me are endless. They're my entire life, but they're very systematic, and the timing of the situations with mass groups are all coordinated. So anyways, my final note that I didn't think about at the time about me being accused of stealing my father's medication out of the office and me not being told anything and trying to make me crazy and like a paranoid schizo is the key element here. Doctors don't have medications in their office. Most of the medications, you go into a doctor's office, they write a prescription, you go to the pharmacy to get the medication. So what medication did me or Patty Guggen or me thinking I'm Patty Guggen supposedly steal, right? Now, maybe we can analyze it and say maybe there were some trial medications, but still, if you're given trial medications, they're not the important ones. And so, anything that someone, okay, here's the theory. My father's scam is that Kevin's making money off stealing office medications on the side, or some lame theory like that, right? Well, let me tell you that if you're going to make a living off selling trial medications out of an orthopedic surgeon's office who doesn't do surgery in that office, he just sets casts, then you can't make much of a living, right? I mean, what living are you going to make stealing some cheeseball trial things for stupid things? You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't add up. Yeah, sure, on the surface, without any facts, my son's stealing my medications and he's a drug dealer making money off medical medications. Yeah, sure, whatever. Now let's look at the facts. The facts are there are no real medications in that office, and to steal medications in an office where there's not even any surgery done, just looking at people setting casts or whatever, you're not going to make much of a living. What are you going to make, like $100 a month, right? Okay, it doesn't add up. So anyways, I want to go back to Alita, which hopefully I won't go on to too many tangents, because once again, right after hiring me, putting me across from Denise, and in the other room was Alita, a black girl. Now Alita, just like the rest of them, was playing victim, pretending she's paranoid. But it goes a lot deeper with that than that. The reason they chose her and called her Alita, I can't tell you if her real name is Alita or not, but the reason they chose her was to use the name schizophrenia tactic to send me hidden messages about things. And so the hidden message they were sending me was about the movie Hackers, which applied to Lynn Junkin, which I talk about in my prior videos. The 16-year-old blonde sent after me on IRC with my brother's friend Mike Wexler to try to set me up for statutory rape. And remember in my last video I mentioned that after my brother introduced me to the internet, where it was just telnet sessions, and I went into a public telnet where the school gives out the password in their computer department, and went from University of Colorado to the Southern Oregon State Library System and pulled up Kelly Hatch's phone number on the public directory, just like opening up a set of white pages, and called my old so-called friend Kelly Hatch on the phone, which later on I find out was sent after me to follow me up to Southern Oregon State and stalk me with the NSA, FBI, feds to exterminate me, which I didn't know back then. By me telling her that I looked her up on the internet, they all made claims that I somehow hacked a school system, kind of like the movie War Games, back to the games thing, and did horrible things to her and violated her privacy and violated her space and this and that, yet actually nothing happened. It's all thin air. It's smoke and mirrors, right? The only thing happened is someone that was calling up an old friend and pulled up their new place through a school computer, which was new, but it has nothing to do with hacking. After this, because the entertainment industry is involved so deeply, why, I cannot tell you, but because they are, the movie Hackers was made. And the first person, with Angela Jolie, and the first person that wanted me to see this movie was Lynn Junkin, the 16-year-old blonde sent after me, that would show up to IRC parties with groups of people of all ages, and was talking about hacking, was hinting that I stole a laptop, and wanted hacker confessions. And in the movie Hackers, I can't tell you if they put anything directed at me aside from the box cover, but what they were doing is, like, there's lines in the movie. And remember, I told you that what they do, and have been doing to me since 5 years old, is they show me a movie and then they sort of try to play act with street theater parts of the movie, right? Well, there's parts in the movie where they use the word elite, and you're not elite, and everyone's competing to be elite, and yada yada yada, elite, hack the planet, you're elite. And then, after Lynn Junkin shows me this, you know, they work this angle and tactic for my entire life, that I'm hacking people and trying to make them mentally ill on the internet, yet I have no clue how to hack, but I can't tell you how many people have come into my life trying to get hacker confessions or saying that I'm a hacker and this and that, to the point where I tested the waters at a coffee bean on Ventura and Topanga, and I wanted to see their reaction. And I said, you know what, I hacked someone. And I was met with mass terror operations for saying that, because normally, if someone walked up to someone and said, I hacked someone, they'd go, yeah, whatever, I really don't have time, I don't care, right? Hence, me proving, like usual, that there's a mass conspiracy to stalk me and hunt me over things that people just normally couldn't care less about. And so, that is why they put me across from Alita, which was black, or is black, and Alita was pretending to be paranoid, and at the same time I was watching these people work on me to try to flip me into a paranoid schizophrenia state, stalking me, right? So what is she doing? Oh, we have something in common, blah blah blah, will you do this for me, will you do that for me, telling me that people are opening up her Word documents and adding things to it and this and that. Can you lock down these files? Blah, 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 right? Trying to set me up. And I saw her, they had her follow me about a year ago, right after the Sean Dincy arrest in 2017. And I have her recorded on camera, and she claims nothing ever happened. She wasn't paranoid, yada yada, no one did anything to her in the office, completely lying through her teeth, showing that she's full of shit, which I already knew for years. So after that, in order to cover up what Alita was doing, this black lady stalking Kevin Perlman once again, they're making claims that I did all these horrible things to her, right? I stalked her, I made her mentally ill, blah, blah, blah. I didn't do a thing to her like you, like everyone else. Eventually, she quits. Patty Guggen says to me, she quits and she's much happier now, trying to hint about something. And you can see right through all these people, right? that was Alita, and those were more set up attempt and frame job operations to try to make Kevin look like he's stalking and hates black people, and that this is racial, and Kevin's a white supremacist, which all link back to me kissing the black girl. Okay, so what's going on? Well, what's going on is my father hires Lorena Escobar, and he probably pays her shitloads of money to hire people to stalk me, and they're doing it. They are doing it. They're probably very well paid, and they're put in an office that looks like they're normal employees, but they're dual-purpose employees, right? So it's kind of like that book that Stephen Einbinder was associating with the Menendez, my dad's partner, my dad's ex-partner's son, who wanted to get away from my dad so bad. The book that they were associated with, How to Kill Someone and Get Away with It, seems to apply to my father, and my father hiring people like Lorena Escobar to pose as employees, and then paying off people to hunt me and stalk me who look like they're employees on his payroll with dual-purpose jobs, right? I want you to do this job and hunt down and kill my son at the same time, so that there's an alibi, right? So towards the end, when I was fired, he was working on me with the black employee Brandon, trying to obviously use the justification that I somehow did something to Alita. But once again, like I mentioned before, it just jumps from thing to thing in the thousands to make me think I'm a bad person while hunting me. It jumps from I stalked Alita, I stalked this girl Marlene Ramirez, who Lorena was pretty much paying off to hunt me down and stalk me and making claims I stalked her, crying wolf over and over. That I followed to her car because I walked outside to my car at 5 p.m. and she parked next to me, right? And then Lorena the next day claiming that I followed Lorena because I was walking to the office at lunchtime smoking a cigarette or something like this, right? Reinforcing their lies like they do so well from person to person, all working together in a mass worldwide conspiracy. You get the idea. So Brandon was covering up for Alita, but he was covering up for a lot more people than Alita, right? And the fact that Brandon was in communication with black people at coffee shops worldwide is not normal. So even if I was some crazy man who stalked Alita in his office, how would this get worldwide in secret, right? Okay? But this was worldwide in secret way before that. This was worldwide since 1994, and my brother called me up on the phone saying, Kevin, you gotta check out the internet, which was in its basic infamous, I can't even say it, infamancy, whatever, is in its basic stages, and the internet was basically a telnet session, an email when my brother called me up on the phone with the government showing it to me. And keep in mind that the internet was not developed in a private area, in a private business. The internet was developed through the government and trickles down through school systems. So, you have a government network. You have a brother and father and mother working with the NSA, FBI, worldwide support police, worldwide, introducing Kevin to the internet so they can play both sides of the fence and stalk Kevin. And instantly in 1994, after showing me the telnet session, they labeled me a hacker, hence Hollywood putting things in the movie Hackers, and people like Lynn Junkin with Mike Wexler, my brother, who my brother introduced me, another one of my brother's friends, who he introduced me to at University of Colorado, trying to set me up with her for statutory rape, trying to get me to like her and things like that, by telling me things that in Colorado it is legal to sleep with girls at the age 16 and weird creepy things like this. Well, he showed me his lockpick set and wanted me to know that he knew how to pick locks, while also telling me that for some reason it's okay to hit bumps in the streets with your car. Right? Okay? So, what they do is they send people like Mike Wixler after me. He tries to plant the seeds to set me up. Then they have Lynn Junkin come in, who's a 16-year-old blonde, working with them. He tries to manipulate me into the situation. It doesn't work. They got to cover it up somehow because they can't set me up correctly. So then they got to frame me, right? So then this information, once they frame me, or just make up the lie to cover up what they tried to do to me, goes worldwide. So the entire planet is told that I'm hacking people, trying to make them mentally ill. They tell them I'm a pedophile. They tell them I did this. They tell them I did that. Hence, 10 years later, my family hiring black people like Alita to come after me, to guilt me in revenge from a completely different person that you would normally not think are connected, because normally they wouldn't be connected. And then it just goes from the next person to the next person. Example I was talking about, it goes from Brian Weaver in middle school and high school to Brian Longbottom to another person in the entertainment industry, Rob Roy McGregor. Met them in complete different areas, right? There should be no communication, yet they're all communicating through the internet behind the scenes. And so it just goes from person to person until I'm dead and gone worldwide. They make up the lie, they come after me with 100,000 people, they make up the new lie, they come up to me with another 100,000 people, the lies are in the thousands. And so that's pretty much it. And I think this is a really long segment. I filled up the first SD card, so I never got to the part where I was going to talk about my brother's cover-up operations from the steak night. Well, I talked about the cover-up operations with the World War II cruise in the Caribbean and him trying to plant a Kershaw knife on me while trying to flip me in a state of violent paranoid schizophrenia, which didn't work. But my next segment, I will talk about why he had to do that with my family and what he's trying to hide and cover up based on his bullying when I was a lot younger, and me scaring him off me. Let me rephrase that. Me harmlessly scaring him off me, doing nothing wrong, and him exposing himself later on, showing that he and my family have something to hide, which goes way beyond a harmless incident of me stopping my brother from endlessly bullying me. It literally goes to my brother actually told to do these things to set me up, to frame me, to try to make me look crazy, hence why they need to cover it up. Because if they're not doing anything illegal, then these aren't things that anyone normally cares about. It's just kids being kids and kids growing up, and that's it. And because I'm constantly met with you're not allowed to look back at your life, and you're not allowed to talk to anyone on the planet at all or about your life, and if you mention anything about your life to anyone anywhere in the world, I'm met with mass groups hunting me down, trying to kill me or threatening my life. That's not because I did anything wrong, because they're the ones who have something to hide, and what they have to hide is so bad that they'll kill me over it. Hence, I will get into that tomorrow, and I must have spoke, I don't even know how long on this video, but, the people who really want to understand what the hell's going on will watch these, and eventually in the future, I'm sure these will come handy for people. So anyways, that is it for this one, and till the next one.